Okay, guys, we are live. For those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly, I think it's a Game Master today. Which Master doesn't seem right here? I need to come up with another name for this. Game Master Dave, today we are creating characters. This will be session 0 for a short campaign. We're going to be playing using our Talsorian super cool The Witcher RPG. Mine is, of course, the backwards cover edition. And with me today are going to be the stars of our Witcher, or some of the stars of our The Witcher campaign. The campaign, or the mini-adventure, is going to be called Underneath the Ice. With us today, I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. I want you to say howdy quick, and then we'll get into talking about what characters or who wants to play one. You can turn it down on your own end, Robert.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. And that's you have full control over that. It won't affect the broadcast whatsoever. First up, we've got Will.
Hi, I'm Will. I'm not going to be playing Amar or Chael.
Next up is Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean. Looking forward to it. Haven't played The Witcher before, and fired up.
Excellent. Next up is James.
Hi, I'm James. I've never played The Witcher before, but I've read some of the books.
Oh, nice. You actually are ahead of me then.
Series.
And last but certainly not least is Robert.
I'm Robert, and I read the first book and played some of the video game, and that's about it. But I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So one thing I will say is that I have not read the books. I have played up to the point where you fight a griffin in Witcher 3, and then the game said, now go and earn money, and then we'll carry on. And I was like, nope. You don't tell me what to do, game. If you don't have a clear story, I'm not following this. But I really, really enjoyed the TV series from Netflix, and I have really enjoyed the role-playing game. We've done character generation a couple of times on the channel, and had one sort of like test combat just to get a sense of how the game plays, and I really, really enjoyed it. I've mentioned this before on the channel as well. If you are interested in picking up The Witcher, I have a link down below to our Talsorian. The stream's not sponsored by them or anything like that. It's just that's a way of getting it directly from them, and that's also a way of ensuring you're getting the second printing of the game. The Witcher. The first printing of the game is perfectly usable, but there's about 10 pages of errata that came with it. And in the second printing, they corrected everything. So if you do intend on picking this up on your own, I would just keep an eye out. You can see on the inside of the cover, if you're picking it up in person, it says right on the index page where it's second printing. Definitely keep an eye out for that, because there is a substantial change made to combat that comes from the second printing. So it's you know, unless you want to sit with a bunch of errata, then that's what I would recommend. Now, what we've done so far is we've talked about, who wants to play in this game, and that's really it. We haven't done anything else, so we're going to be doing our full session 0 today, and then we're going to go through the life path system to generate our characters here. So we have 2 other players who will be joining us later for the first, hopefully for the first session of the actual thing. But for the people here, what that means is whoever is here is the people who get to lay claim to playing the titular role in this game as a Witcher. So maybe first thing we'll say, I think everyone here is familiar with it, but if you're not familiar with The Witcher is set in a alternate universe kind of world that's referred to as the Continent. The Witchers are these magically mutated characters who are, they're altered by these mutagenic compounds, make use of some very crude magical tricks called signs to hunt monsters. In the setting, there was an event. The real thing that kind of sets this setting apart from others is that humans are not native to the continent. There was this catastrophic event called the Conjunction of the Spheres, I believe, and in the conjunction, these rifts to other worlds opened up and deposited all sorts of creatures from completely different environments and different biomes. And unsurprisingly, those things completely fucked up the ecology and the life in the continent. The disruption to magic also caused huge problems for the elves, who were one of the dominant older races here. This takes place hundreds of years after the conjunction. The monsters at the time that we'll be playing, a lot of them have been eliminated or have really learned to, be on the outskirts or keep themselves hidden. So the call and the need for the Witcher is a little less, so people forget the important role that they used to play. There is, it's said to be drums of war coming from the south, from the Empire of Nilfgaard, heading towards the squabbling northern kingdoms. Another thing that is characteristic of The Witcher is that racism and bigotry and the tension between the different species is a lot higher in this than it is in almost any other. Dragon Age has a fairly comparable relationship with elves and whatnot in it, but it's life for a lot of non-humans is very rough. In particular, if you happen to come from a species like a werebub that doesn't look like a human. It's also a world of magic. Mages play an important role in all different kingdoms, as do priests, and have the ability to call on different kinds of magic. That's the setting. It is a ugly. It's kind of like a. You can tell, I think, that it is a European creation because I read a review or a comment by someone who was a Warhammer player a while ago and saying, the difference between D&D and Warhammer is that the creators of Warhammer grew up around castles, so they know how shitty the living circumstances would have been, as opposed to the fantastic version that D&D presented. The Witcher is Polish, isn't it? It's a Polish author who created it originally. Yeah. Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, the game mechanics itself are kind of it's a strange hybrid of about 80% the interlock system that was used in Cyberpunk 2020, very similar to that, and in the new Cyberpunk Red. But there's also about 20% of hero system. There used to be in the 90s this game, a mechanic called Fusion, which took bits from Interlock and bits from the hero system and created this jumbled kind of hybrid. And it worked for some games. Sengoku. Sengoku originally used Interlock. James, I'm not sure I can't remember which version of Sengoku you got into. But it uses Interlock, which has this interesting, takes some ideas from Hero, some ideas from Interlock, and it creates this whole different thing. This has got some legacy of that. You'll see the stamina mechanic is very similar to the endurance mechanic in Hero system, but we'll get into that when we get into the nitty-gritty of playing the game. First thing we need to decide is whether, what, I guess first off, if anyone has very, very strong feelings on playing a Witcher or not. If so, I think having at least one Witcher in the game is a good thing. Names on the box, as it were. And it really, it's a good character around which to frame the types of adventures that, that the game is sort of trying to capture. Investigative, monster hunting stuff. You may think that the game just consists of a series of boss fights and whatnot. And it really, in the supplement that has the monster stuff, the Witcher's Journal, they give an optional set of rules for running investigations, making a kind of a mini game of that stuff, and role playing and collecting evidence and whatnot, and figuring out what you're fighting. That's a key part of being a monster hunter. It's not just a matter of showing up and kicking their ass. It's the preparation, knowing what things that what you're hunting will tell you what things they're capable of and what things they're vulnerable to, because the continent is littered with the corpses of unburied Witchers who did not adequately prepare. Anyway, so what are we thinking? Does anyone here have a strong feeling towards playing a Witcher?
I would like to, but I don't have to. I have another idea, so if somebody else wants to do it, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll throw my hat in. I mean, I'd be in for the the roll off or whatever.
Okay.
But it's unnecessary. I mean, I wasn't
we can
even
have
really
two
thinking...
as well. One of the neat things is you'll see that in the course of the character generation, you do end up with a lot of ways to customize your characters. And although Geralt of Rivia is the archetypical version of it. My understanding is that like his specific mutations are not true for all Witchers. There are Witchers that don't have those like glowing yellow eyes and his shock of white hair. They will have sometimes unnatural features and whatnot because of their use of mutagens and whatnot. But there's also different schools. Geralt happens to be from the Wolf school, but there's like 4 other schools as well as a new optional one they released over. I can't remember if they released it as a 2 years ago as a April Fool's joke or not. But there's another one. So like. There's lots of variety if you don't. So, James and Robert, what are you guys leaning towards? Either of you want to play a Witcher, or you got something else in mind?
I've got something else in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, something else.
All right. So, Will, what is your second idea? What was your?
The second idea was probably a criminal.
Nice.
Me too.
Yeah, that was my backup. If I wasn't going to be able to play a Witcher, I was like, I can play a criminal. Because I figured somebody else want to play a mage. So I was like, I'll do either a Witcher or a criminal.
Okay. And then, James, you're thinking criminal as well?
Yep.
James and Will, were you guys thinking human, or were you thinking another species?
I was
human. Thinking just human, yeah.
Okay. Do you guys think that you do we want to have 2 criminals in the group? Because you can certainly do that. Each of the different classes has sort of like a different path they can go down for customizing their character. Or do you guys want to?
Well, I was going to. It might work just because I was going for partly nicking from the game, but for a thief a streetwise urchin.
Oh, like a young kid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I mean, you could have a completely different criminal from that.
What were you thinking, Will?
More of a kind of gambler assassin type character, kind of.
So I think those could play off each other quite well then.
Yeah.
And then Robert, what are you thinking?
Well, sounds. So do we have a Witcher now, or is it?
Yeah. It sounds like Sean. I mean,
Sean? Okay.
You're not interested in playing a Witcher?
No.
Okay. So Sean, you're our Witcher.
Okay. I mean, Will, we can roll for it if you want. I mean, I'm not at all committed to it. I mean, if you want to just, it's up to you, sir. If you want to take a shot at it.
Well, I was going to say, if if like Robert doesn't play a mage, I could play a mage.
Yeah.
And then we'd have kind of a Witcher, a mage, a criminal, and then whatever else Robert wants to play. And I think that would be more well-rounded for the party.
What are you thinking, Robert?
Well, I had 2 in mind. I had either, depending if we felt we were too combat heavy, I could go with a doctor, and I would probably be aiming for the anatomist.
Oh, nice.
Passive, actually, hey, I know how to cause wounds from that thing. Or a more strict man at arms. But
okay, cool.
I know we have 2 other people who would be coming in to be able to round things out.
So for the folks who couldn't make it, the unfortunate, we're making with who is here today, you can free reign. There are lots of different options in the game, so the other 2 guys will be able to make characters that will be interesting. Just you do not feel restricted by what other people may or may not select. Either of those are great options too. The doctor in particular, critical wounds in the game are no fucking joke, and having someone to mend your wounds definitely would work. And then Will, if you want to play a wizard or a mage, that would be pretty awesome as well. And that also would justify my most recent purchase.
Nice. Yeah.
Tome of Chaos.
Very cool.
Okay, cool. So that would be then a mage, a witcher, a criminal, urchin, and what are you thinking, Robert? A man-at-arms or a doctor?
No, I'll go doctor.
Nice. Okay, cool.
I was thinking about doing a dwarf doctor actually to go against type, but.
All right. So then Sean's going to be playing a witcher as your race. Will, James, and Robert, what are you guys thinking of for your race? Do you want to play human, elf, dwarf? We have rules for halflings now. We have rules for werebubs, although the werebubs are pretty what do you call it? Pretty discriminated against. Maybe let's stick to the core rulebook for our first stuff here. So, what do you think? Elf, dwarf, human?
I think I'm going to go dwarf.
Nice, dwarf doctor. Love it. Okay.
He's not going to have a great bedside manner.
Yeah, right.
James and Will, what are you guys thinking?
I'm torn between either human or elf. I kind of. The elves are so weird in the game, or in the show at least.
What are you thinking, James? You said you're.
I'll go human because I'm going to give myself enough problems as a human.
So does that help at all, Will?
Yeah, let's go out on a limb and let's do an elf.
Nice, excellent. All right, so then first thing we can do is we can look at the different races. So races start on page 22 of the core rulebook. So, for instance, the Witchers gain a couple of perks, including enhanced senses, +1 to your awareness skill, and you can track by scent alone. You're immune to disease and able to use mutagens. You do have dulled emotions, so you have -4 to your empathy stat, which cannot bring it below 1. And you have lightning reflexes, permanent +1 to your reflex and dexterity. Those will be applied after you roll your stats up. The elves on page 23 are artistic, natural eye, +1 to your fine arts skill. Marksman grants you +2 to your archery skill, and you have natural attunement, a deep magical bond with nature. You don't disturb animals. You automatically find any plant substance rated as commonly available or lower that they're seeking, so long as the substance would occur naturally in the surrounding. That really will play into the crafting mechanic of the game, which is really cool. The dwarves, our Dr. Dwarf here, spending much of your time in the mountains, you gain natural stopping power of 2. SP is how much you reduce the damage you take in the game. Naturally strong, +1 to your physique skill, and we'll add that after you generate your stats. And you get +1 to your business skill. And for humans, page 24, trustworthy, +1 to your charisma, again after you generate your stats. Ingenuity, +1 to your deduction skill. And blindly stubborn. Human can summon up their courage to re-roll a failed resist coercion or courage roll 3 times per game session. That's a lot. That's pretty cool. They take the higher of the 2 rolls, but they can still fail if they. They can still fail and cannot reuse the ability to re-roll again. I wonder why they got the 3 number from. That's. I'd be interested to know what playtest that landed on, like, well, you can use it 3 times per session. All right. So now most of the characters are going to make use of, everyone other than Sean's Witcher will make use of the life path on page 25. Witchers make use of a separate life path, and that is, where is it here? Starting on, you know what a smart DM would have done is mark the stuff beforehand. So for those aspiring Witcher masters, yeah, it's not. It's still a work in progress. I'll know by our first actual session what I'll be calling the DM. Yeah, look that shit up before your first session here. There's the formulas, fixing things. We know. I bet you. Here we go. Here we go. Found it. Life as a Witcher. Okay, Witchers start on page 237 of the rulebook there, Sean.
237?
237 is your life path that we'll be following. So, what I think, guys, is we will just follow this along so we all get to know our characters together. We'll just do them one at a time. So, Will, for your elf, why don't you give us just a flat D10 roll? It'll be evens or odd. Oh, no, actually, we know. So, as an elf, it's the Elderlands. So elf, it's Dolblathana is where you are from, so you can add +1 to your social etiquette skill.
Okay.
I think they're on the first page there. And then, would you give us a D10 roll, please?
Now the good old D10.
Yeah.
Actually,
There.
but can't he still choose? It looks like he can choose to be from another land, but he doesn't get that advantage.
Oh, yeah. So you can be from one of the other, from Nilfgaard, or from, you can roll normally if you want. Do you want to be from the Elven lands, or do you want to be from one of the normal regions?
No, let's go with the Elven lands.
Elven lands?
That's what I see this character.
Okay. So even, at least some of your family is alive. And give us one more roll.
Another D10.
Yes, please.
All right.
Even again. Your parents are alive.
Okay.
So in spite of all the turmoil and whatnot within Dol B'Thana, your parents are still alive. We'll pick up with them in a moment. Sean, as a Witcher, why don't you give us a D10 roll, please?
Okay.
Let's see, when did you become a Witcher? 4. Is this thing broken? Are we only rolling 4s today, guys?
You know, that's going to save time. Everyone just count 4.
Early childhood is when you became. You were taken to become a Witcher when you were young, between 4 and 6 years old. You have some normal memories to aid you when taking the Trial of the Grasses. And then what school? Give us a 1d10 roll again. We'll just go page by page for each of the characters and then start filling in stuff as we go here. 8. The Viper School. You were trained at Gorthir Gvaid in the deep chasms of the Tir Toker Mountains. Unlike other Witchers, you were trained on twin blades and an assassination-based approach to killing monsters.
Cool.
So the ability you get from that is you have no penalties for dual wielding.
All right.
Okay. I've yet to have a fantasy game where we don't have someone dual wielding in it.
Dual wielding? Yeah.
Fits. All right, and James, why don't you give us a even or odds roll, or give a D10 roll?
Yep.
See what your homeland is. Where's your urchin originally from? 5. Odds. Northern Kingdoms. Give us another D10 roll, please. Excuse me. And remember, you can just hit the up arrow key, and that'll repopulate whatever your last roll was. Sidaris. So on the coast. So you get +1 sailing. Give us another roll. Let's see how your family is doing. Odd. Something happened to your family. So we will be going on the next page to family fate. And then finally, Robert, would you give us a D10 roll, please?
Yeah, I'm going to actually roll for the... I could be from Mahakam, but I'm going to not be a traditional.
Okay. Let's see. Odd, so Northern Kingdoms as well. Give us another D10 roll.
Something for Nilfgaard. Okay, that's all right.
And again, you can hit just the up arrow key to reroll.
Right,
yep. Cadwin, +1 endurance. Okay. And give us another roll. See how your family has been.
Marking this down on my sheet too. Up arrow.
Okay. Odd. Something happened to your family. So we will see what has happened to them shortly. All right. Then, Will, we are back to our as yet unnamed elf. So your parents are alive. Go to family status, which is on page 28. This is the Elderland. Give us a D10 roll, please.
All right. Trying to follow along. Let's see here.
3. Merchants. You grew up among traveling merchants. Life was difficult sometimes, but non-human crafts are always valuable. Your starting gear are 2 acquaintances. So you have 2 people that you have met over the course of the thing. And we're going to leave those a little open. The adventure we're going to be playing is actually from the Book of Tales book, and we're gonna. It suggests that you, during character creation, link up with some of the characters to have a reason for you being involved with that one. So we will take advantage of that. All right, so folks, you come from merchant stock there, Mr. Mage. That's interesting. Sean, we go to the second page of the Witcher training on page 239. How did early training go? Give us a D10 roll, please.
Okay.
Let's see how things went for our Viper Witcher. Nat 1. Wounded on the gauntlet. You were wounded while running the gauntlet around your school. Your leg was broken badly, and even after healing, it still feels slightly stiff. So after you roll, just make a note somewhere that you're going to take -1 to your speed after you generate your stats. But let's see how the trials went, though. Maybe a hopefully better outcome there. Give us a D10. A 2. Poorly. Poorly accepted. The trial of the grasses went poorly, and the witchers in charge of the mutation weren't entirely sure you would make it. You survived, but not without mental scars. So you will get an additional -1 to your empathy. Your character is a right prick. So that's great.
You know, that feeds right in. I mean, he's already a Witcher. No one's expecting, poems from The Witcher.
Exactly. All right, so the next up is James. So, and something happened to your family, right?
Yep.
So let's, Northern Standards, give us a 1d10 roll. Let's see what happened to your character's family. 4. With so many wars, your family's livelihood was destroyed. Your family turned to crime to survive.
Oh, yes, it did.
And then, Robert, give us a D10 roll as well. Let's see what happened to your dwarf. A 9. Your family has a deep, dark secret that, if discovered, would ruin you all completely. You can decide what the secret is, or the game master can decide.
Nothing to think about it.
What did you do? All right. So then, let's see here. Next thing is for most influential friend. So, Will, why don't you give us a D10 roll? Let's see who your most influential friend is that you've met. A 9. A criminal. Your greatest influence was a criminal who taught you how to take care of yourself. As gear, you've also gained a mask. Well, it makes sense for traveling merchant elves. That can go and community to community. If you happen to find yourself in a community that is hostile to your kind, not a bad thing to hide those ears necessarily.
Yeah.
Sean, back to your Witcher. We're on page 240 now. What was your most important event? Give us a D10 roll, please. 10. Gained fame. You were well received in a town after helping them with a monster. You didn't expect free drinks or women casting you glances, but that's what you got. You haven't seen such kindness again, but it was heartening.
That one time. I'm still, that time in high
Chasing
school was
that
so sweet.
He's actually like, a guy from East Texas high school who,
Right.
had a really great football game and then
Friday
busted his
night
knee.
football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Friday Night Witcher.
Yeah, Friday Night Witcher. Totally.
Oh God, what's the
You
name?
guys should have seen me that one time, baby. It was so
The
sweet.
theme song. I can't remember the artist name, the original artist name. Daniel something or other, but the theme song to that is a song called Devil Town. So, and it's exceptionally appropriate. It's also a great fucking tune. But you also have, let's see here, Where Are You Now? Why don't you give us a D10 roll?
All right.
3. Became a hermit. You gave up life as a witcher and traveled out into the wilderness. You now live as a hermit in the wilds. Only now that monsters are returning, have you started to venture out again. Now we're gonna in your next series of rolls, we're gonna find out what life as a Witcher is, because Witchers can actually start the game with hundreds of years of life behind them already. So it's because the mutagen, one of the other benefits in addition to your like heightened senses and whatnot, is extended lifespan. So, James, let's see who your most influential friend is. A witch. Your greatest influence was a village witch who taught you the importance of knowledge. And your gear is a black magic doll. So you're honestly you're like every urchin that Tim Burton draws. The creepy looking doll. Hello, sir. Would you like to come and play? All right. And Robert, give us a D10 roll. See who your most influential friend is.
Don't I need to do Family Fate first?
Didn't we roll Family Fate for you?
Did we?
Yeah, we already rolled that.
Yeah, sorry.
That's a deep dark secret.
Oh, but then it says go to family status.
It does. Yeah, go ahead. So actually, we need to do family status for James as well.
Yep.
Didn't you give us a D10? 1. Aristocracy. You grew up in a noble manner with servants to wait on you, but you were always expected to behave and impress. So your starting gear is paper of nobility. I mean, that also fits in with your family fate, so that may have been where you started. That is not where you ended up.
Yeah, I think that's better. I don't...
Okay. But you do still have that as part of your background. So you do have access to the paper of nobility, which will grant you +2 reputation. Robert, give us a D10 roll, please. 6. Entertainer family. You grew up with a band of performers. You may have traveled or you may have performed in the theater. So you gain 1 instrument and 1 friend. Okay. And then, so Robert, you give us a D10 roll for your influential friend. A 2. An artisan. Your greatest influence was an artisan who taught you how to appreciate art and skill. And the gear is a token you made. So your entertainer family has some kind of horrific dark secret. Oh, I look forward to dabbling. I see demons in your future. Then it is back to Will, your siblings. So elves can have up to 2 siblings. Give us a D10 roll, please. 3. You're an only child.
Yes, I am.
So there you go. You were the precious. Also being a only child who ended up being a mage. That is kind of a cool combo too. You really are the precious one. Sean, now we're doing things a little different for you as a Witcher. Witchers are incredibly long-lived beings as long as they don't succumb to the dangers of their profession. The last Witchers were made 5 decades ago. During the spring, summer, and fall, Witchers travel the path, looking for people who need to be protected from monsters, and in the winter, they generally reconvene at the keep where they were trained. When your character begins their travels, they are somewhere between 20 and 29. For each decade after this, choose how much risk you took as a Witcher and roll for your decade. First, roll on the danger row of the risk level to see if something went wrong during the decade. If something did, roll on the danger table. After that, roll on the outcome row for that decade, then on the benefits, allies, or hunt tables for details. So, we will be doing, if you're between 20 and 29, and it was 50 years ago, that's a minimum of 3 decades of danger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So for your first decade fresh out of the Path of Vipers school, what do you think? I'm looking on page 241, Sean.
Yep.
Safety: cautious, normal, non-neutral, or risky. And the way the tables work in this is with greater risk come greater rewards.
Let's see. Because he... I think that, well, let's go for his glory days. Let's go with risky.
Risky, love it.
So you know, he came out firing, and, you know, time to put some heads on the mantle.
Okay, so 75% chance of danger. Give us a percentile roll, please.
Okay, let's see here.
Let's see. There was danger.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to, let's see here. Danger table's on 245. All right. That's Witcher gear. Come on, book. All right. Would you give us another D10 roll? Let's see what the nature of the danger was. An 8. Enemies. Love it. 1,
Cool.
2, 3, 4, 5. Give us 5 D10 roll, please.
Okay.
What do we get? And let's read those through. Okay, cool. So it is a female noblewoman who you killed her kin. Her power is knowledge. And the escalation is hunting revenge. So you have your first year out, you ran across a female noblewoman whose kin you killed. They are powerful in knowledge, so they know a great deal, and the escalation is hunting revenge. And let's see here, enemy mortalities. Oh, nice. Would you give us a percentile roll, please? Oh, you can just give us a D10 roll, actually, just a flat D10. That'll work just as well. And she's still alive. So, you can make note of one of your enemies here is a noblewoman. You know, if someone's got to run this game, I should really be making notes of some of this stuff. So one of the habits I get into with recording, I'm like, I can always go back and rewatch.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Good call. I never do that. That's a great call.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
a noblewoman killed her kin.
I'm marking some of it in the book, but I mean, so far that's worked really well. But now we're going to have multiple rolls on these tables, so now I'm scrambling to make notes here. Yeah.
So now we're on page 241. Did your physical copy show up yet?
Yeah. No,
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
I'm good.
Then let's hear. Oh, big thank you to all the viewers as well, to anyone who puts up with the ads in our channel, or who supports us on Patreon, or who buys anything from our Redbubble shop. You've helped us supply the players with copies. James doesn't have his yet because I'm a fucking sleep at the wheel, but he will soon. So we'll thank you
No.
to everybody.
I've already been checking on a German website.
No. So we see the outcome of this. Give us another D10 roll, Sean.
Okay.
So a 7. No, that's not right.
What table?
Yeah,
what
7
table
again.
are we on now?
I'm on page 241. I'm looking for the outcome of this adventure with this woman. This, but you did get an ally out of it. That's interesting. Give us a 4D10 roll, please.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a male. A male duke. You were trapped together. That's how you met. And your acquaintances. So in the course of this, and then give us a 1d10 roll too. Let's see if this acquaintance is still alive or not. They are still alive. So,
Male Duke.
Any living friend you've known for more than 8 decades is either elder folk or a mage. That's cool.
Male Duke trapped together, right?
Yes, you were trapped together. So somewhere in the course of that first adventure of yours, you killed the kin of this knowledgeable noblewoman, but you also, in the course of being trapped with this duke, became acquaintances with him.
Maybe it's her husband. We'll have to work on this. But
yeah, no, this is part of the fun of the that process.
What is that for? The 4 applies to if he's alive. Is that the one?
That was a roll to see if he was alive or not. Yeah, 30% chance of them being dead.
Okay.
Yeah, but this character is still alive. So that brings us to the end of your first decade. So let's now go to James. Let's see how many siblings you have. You are humans. Just give us a D10 roll. 6. You have 6 siblings.
Whoa.
My goodness me.
Well, that's because a bunch die off, so you got to get a bunch of pups going.
So then what, let's see here. What we can do is, let's see, let me write, well, yeah, there's only one, let's just do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. These are your siblings. All right. Would you give us a roll?
Do you want me just to do it offline?
Yeah, maybe if you want, and tell us what interesting stuff comes from it.
I'll come up with some ideas.
Okay, cool. And then Robert. So for dwarves, use the Nilfgaard Chable. So give us a 1d10 roll. There we go. One sibling. Okay. And then yours, let's just so we can see how it works. Why don't you give us a 4d10 roll, please?
D10, yeah.
Let's see who your sibling is. Okay. So it's a sister who is younger than you, who has no particular feelings about you one way or the other, who is pretty aggressive. So you have a real bossy younger sister.
Yes. Who doesn't care about me?
I know my sister doesn't watch this channel, so I can make the joke that feels very familiar. Just kidding. My sister is terrific. All right. So that brings us to the end of that. Now we will be going on to life events for the non-Witchers. So after you figured out, I'm looking on page 31, guys. After you figured out how you grew up and found your niche, you get to find out what happened to you over the course of your life. You could get disgustingly lucky and have all sorts of friends, boons, and skill improvements, but you could also be struck by disaster. It's a toss-up, just like most people's lives. For every full 10 years you've been alive, roll 1d10 on the table to determine what the most important event of that decade was. All non-humans are incredibly long-lived, assuming they aren't killed early. Elves and dwarves can live for hundreds of years if they aren't murdered, and they don't succumb to a disease or horrible accident. So, then, Will, for your first 10 years out away from your folks, why don't you give us a D10 roll? Let's see what event has happened. 9. A romance. Well... So, turning to page 35. I joke, but like romance and that aspect of human relations is a very big part of The Witcher. So it's cool that the game incorporates that. 1d10 to see. Let's see.
Dwarf doctor.
Sorry.
Better not be with the dwarf doctor.
Romance, let's see here, isn't exactly uncommon in the world of The Witcher, but happy romance is. Give us a D10, a 10. Whores and debauchery.
Yep, that sounds right.
Whores and debauchery means that you spent your time sleeping around, buying whores, and perhaps leaving a trail of bastard children in your wake if you weren't careful. So...
Yep, that's right.
That's your first decade away from parents. So that's great stuff. Okay. And there is... Yeah, I mean, that's the most significant event for that decade. So then... Dang, I took my finger off of the Witcher section here. Here we go. Now we have decade 2 for you, Sean. That first one left you with a semi-ally and a stalwart enemy. Second decade out of the school. What danger are you embracing? cautious, normal, non-neutral, or risky. Oh, you're muted, John.
Dialing back to non-neutral, I think.
Non-neutral, okay. So give us a percentile roll. Let's see if there was any danger.
It's at this point where he's, glorifying that first decade, and he's thinking about it. It's sweet, and all that. But he's getting a little more, cautious in his hermit, as he's transferred to hermit. Okay, so say it again.
Well, hermit is where you are now. This is all the shit that happened beforehand.
I'm just transferring though.
Transferring,
kind of the evolution, if you will.
So to give a percentile roll, 50% chance of danger.
Okay.
Let's see, and no danger.
Okay.
So then, let's see here. So let's roll the outcome for the decade. Give us a 1d10 roll, please. Anything of interest happen? Let's see, 5. An ally. So once again, why don't you give us a 4d10 roll, please? Actually, 5d10. We'll use the last one to see if they lived or not. Okay. So they are dead. But just looking at that one, you used exclamation marks on it, so you made them exploding dice. But that's okay. I think I can read.
It's weird.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, so just roll 5d10.
Okay.
Sorry, it's again. So maybe they're alive. Oh, I took their pulse. Nope, they're still alive. Never mind. All right, so we got, let's see here. That is male, an old enemy. So an old enemy of yours, you met while drunk and hit it off, and you are acquaintances now. So this person is still alive as well. Who do you think your old enemy would be? Someone you faced in the first decade, or perhaps this decade. But then all it took was a good night of bonding over beers, and you guys are now sound as the pound, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where it's probably, we survived. We survived some kind of whether it was a one-on-one or some kind of battle, and then saw each other, in a tavern, and kind of instinctively reached for our weapons, just because it's that, it was 10 years ago, but you're like, oh, here we go again, and then we're like, and maybe actually something probably, something like mundane interrupted it. So we take a step, we get them half out, and then she goes, and someone not even knowing what's going on goes, "Hey, I'll buy a round." And then we both look over and go,
what if someone comes in, like you guys are about to kick off, and someone comes in, announcing the birth of their son, and then everyone's like, "Hey," and with drinks flowing, you're like, well, we can't really fight now, so...
Right. It'd be rude, or, we have to, okay, free alcohol, let's do it.
Awesome.
And next thing you know, we're drunk, and it goes away, and we're just like,
Yep. Okay. Then, James, let's roll for your first decade here. It's a D10. Let's see what fortune, what event. 7. Allies and enemies. Okay. So give us another D10 to determine whether you made an ally or you made an enemy.
All right.
Let's see here. Even is an ally.
Oh.
So would you give us then? I think they are. Roll to see if they're still alive. I believe. Trying to find where that is. What's it? Oh, okay. Would you give us a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5d10 roll, please. Let's see what we get. All right, so it's a male craftsman. They hired you for something. You are friends. And they are located now in the Empire of Nilfgaard.
Okay.
So that's interesting. So the they hired you for something. Lord knows with your thieving ways what that might have been. Your presumably thieving ways, what that might have been. But they are fast friends of yours and located in the Empire of Nilfgaard now.
Okay.
Okay. And then, Robert, for your first decade out, why don't you give us a D10 roll? 5 allies and enemies as well. Give us another D10. Let's see if evens or odds, whether it's a friend or ally or an enemy. That is an ally. And 1, 2. Give us another 5 D10 roll, please. Okay. It is a male priest. A male priest that you were trapped together with, who has now become your friend, who has returned to the Elder Lands. That's interesting.
Yep.
Now, I don't think that dwarves can make use of magic at all. So it wouldn't be a dwarven priest. But it very well, if it's for the Elder Lands, an elf is certainly a possibility. What do you think?
Yeah, it might be an elf. Yeah, I think an elf trapped with maybe somebody he didn't have a particularly good relationship with, or thought, it's just an elf, and ended up spending time together. Maybe he healed him. Maybe the priest, kept him from going crazy while they were trapped. And yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So we'll film more about that when we, between sessions. Okay, so then we've got, everyone's had one pass here now. Will, want to take another pass? Living more light, another decade? Give us another D10 roll?
Yeah.
Okay. 8. Romance again. You guys got a one-track mind. Give us a D10 roll again, please.
Always thinking with your...
You're a right tart.
Romantic tragedy. Once again, give us a D10 roll. Eesh. 10. Your lover is a mage, a witcher, or a sentient monster, dooming the romance.
Okay.
Yes, you're a mage, right?
Yeah, I am a mage.
Yeah. So that is pretty cool. I'll let you think about that
Yeah.
That's really interesting. The monster stuff is definitely appeals to me.
Of course it does.
Yeah. All right. Then it is back to our Witcher here. So, third decade out. What are you thinking, Sean? Is he continuing on with non-neutral? Is he going more risky again for this third decade? Or is he continuing to err on the side of caution?
I mean, I'm going to go with my original thought that, his evolution was pulling back. So I'm going to go normal. I'm going to...
normal? Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a percentile roll.
Okay. There we go.
Sound dangerous. Oh, things got dangerous. Love it.
Nice.
Okay, so would you?
I kind of like that I went with normal and it was still dangerous.
Yep.
It's satisfying to
the
me.
life
actually.
of a Witcher is rarely free of incident. Would you give us another D10 roll, please?
Okay.
Let's see what the danger was. The danger was an event. Okay. So give us a 1d10 roll again, please. Let's see, 2. A sentient monster escaped. A troll, a catachan, a werewolf, or other sentient monster you were hunting escaped you and is wandering free. They may come...
What page is that on?
Page 245. Okay. They escape. They may come for you someday.
Nice.
I can tell you that the one combat encounter with a monster we did run in this was with a werewolf, and it was super fucking cool. So I'm pretty sure I know what's hunting you. Werewolves are awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you had a hunt that was unsuccessful. Maybe your overly cautious ways cost you the hunt. Then let's roll for your outcome. Give us a 1d10 roll, please. The outcome from that hunt was nothing. That decade, nothing else changed. No new allies, no new anything. So, then, James, are you doing another decade?
Oh, no.
Nope. Okay, so you got your friend in Nilfgaard, and you are done with life events. Robert, what are your dwarf?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe he's going to be 30 or 40. I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
30 or 40 decades of life, so...
Just give us a d10, please. 6. Allies and enemies. Give us once again another d10. Let's see if it's an ally or an enemy. Enemy! There we go. The DM's friend. So 1, 2, 3. Would you give us a 3d10 roll, please? Let's see who your enemy is. Okay. It's a female cultist who the cause is assaulted the offending party. You beat up a cultist. You're not wrong about your poor bedside manner there, Doctor.
Yeah. She wasn't wearing a mask during a pandemic. No. Sorry.
Hold on. Actually, give us a d10 roll again.
Okay.
Let's see who the wronged party is. Even you were the one who was wronged, so they assaulted you. And then would you give us 3d10 roll once again? Cultist, love it. Thank you. It's a gift that keeps on giving, game. They have an... Oh my gosh. So their overall power level is an 8 out of 10. They plan to backstab you. That's how far it's escalated. Mm-hmm. And what is their power? Magic! Okay. There is a very powerful magical cultist who you have pissed off.
Great.
So, cultist. But you were the wrong party, so they were the one who harmed you. So they assaulted you in this thing. What do you think? Any thoughts initially on how this may have come about?
Actually, then, would that be me planning to backstab instead of them?
Let's see here. No, I mean, that takes away your agency.
Okay, yeah, true.
Yeah, and it does say they. Oh, no, it says they, you.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I guess they would. God.
This could have been, may I make a suggestion here, this may, if you studied as a doctor, it is a little unusual for you to be living in human lands as working as a doctor. Perhaps it's someone who, like you were learning under, like a former patron or something like that. And then when you found out, where their true allegiances are as far as the cult goes, you may have been abused. That may also explain why you're on the road.
Okay. Yeah. Let me go with that.
Okay.
I'll think about that a little more.
All right. So then we are back to Will.
I have a question.
Of course.
So on page, our very last thing for me on page 245, that events and wounds table.
Yep.
The second part of that, the first part is events. The second part is wounds. Did I?
You didn't roll a wound. You rolled an event.
Okay, so I'm okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. Good.
To be honest, when I was looking at the table, I first thought like, oh, do we need to roll both? And then I looked at the top and saw. So I went through the same thought process as well. Will, another decade of life for your elf, or? Yeah.
Oh, that actually only clicked twice. Sorry.
Okay, so a 3.
Fortune.
They're both the same thing: a fortune or misfortune. Would you give us another D10 roll, please? That is even as a fortune table. Give us another D10 roll, please.
All right.
An 8. A mage owes you. You managed to garner 1 favor from a powerful mage you helped. Cool. And then So currently, Sean, we are at the age you need. You would have been one of the last made Witchers. Do you want to do another decade of life?
I think I'm thinking yes.
Okay.
And I'm thinking of one last one and ramping it back up.
Risky?
To risky.
Yeah! Love it. Give us a percentile roll, please.
Okay.
Oh, nearly escaped the danger, but not enough. Give us another D10 roll, please.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. That is a 7. Enemies. Love it. Would you give us, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give us a 6D10 roll, please. This will also tell us whether your enemy is alive or dead. So 6D10. All right. They are still alive. So it is a male mercenary. You foiled their plan. Their power is minion, so I guess they're a mercenary captain of some kind. And the escalation was a backstabbing. So do you think this mercenary captain betrayed you as a way of backstabbing, or did you come to learn what they were planning on doing? And then, well, it says you foiled their plan, so I'm guessing you're the one who they feel that you backstabbed them.
I mean, the natural would be where, having a Witcher, I guess, is probably kind of a big deal. So they got me on their payroll or they got me on their side. And then just as you alluded to, I learned that it's not exact, no surprise. It's not exactly as they advertised. And so,
well, it's interesting you say that. So one of the neat things is, like, the Witchers in general, you might think that they would lend themselves to being like assassins, like incredibly useful assassins. Generally speaking, that is, to avoid calling, or causing other people to resent the Witchers as that. Generally speaking, they didn't do that, but there is a guy named Letho of Goulet, who is also from the Viper School, who did fall in, and he's, I believe, known as the assassin, the Kingslayer, because he did start acting as a thing, and that's in the latter days, just before the present day. So
he's big in the lore. In their
so instead of doing what you were trained to do and what you were created to do, and hunting monsters, you maybe were dabbling in the fighting or killing for coin. What do you think the thing is that caused you to turn back from that path?
I mean, I think it just went too far. I mean, I think that he's pretty cold and practical, and so he fell in with a group that, this is fine. He doesn't have to be saving people all the time necessarily. But then it got to be just, wanton slaughter. And he's like, and at some point, someone got some innocent got just completely annihilated or, violated and annihilated. And he's like, you know what? I don't think so. And he turned around and probably just, let's just say decapitated that guy's lieutenant. And they looked at each other and they knew it was over, something like that.
I think the one of the things that it will become evident in the course of play is that Witchers are insanely dangerous to fight. They are, because of their natural mutation abilities, plus the signs and their training, they are some of the most effective combatants anywhere in the continent. So if you have one who suddenly turns and is like, you know what, and starts using signs and whatnot, it's going to be a bad day for the average schmo. So they that's awesome. Okay, so we got a mercenary.
And we can even say he had put me, perhaps he put me in charge of a group. And the group knew what was up, and so they set upon whatever, and I'm like, whoa, I see how it is.
Well,
and
so
then
imagine with your poor empathy too, that they would hate you as the captain anyway. They would resent you and whatnot, and then when things finally, you get that satisfying turn to be able to, they gave you the excuse to kill you know, the
I
noisiest.
slaughtered them, you know, from behind or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. And then so the overall captain was obviously, we did not get along after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Okay. So we've got a cultist, we've got an aggrieved noblewoman, we have a mercenary captain who's turned out my cast of antagonists just is growing by the roll. Speaking of growing by the roll, we got to roll your reward, don't we? Oh no, we didn't roll that yet. Hold on, 241.
For me?
Yeah, D10 roll, please. What's the outcome?
Okay.
From this? Nothing. See, unfortunately, you walked away with, you know, I guess maybe whatever sense of morality you had from that, but nothing else.
Yeah, my big payday, you know, the captain decided not to include me on the... Yeah.
What are all these deductions on my page? Oh, right. Carl. Yeah. Shit. I did.
Right.
Oh, and Tony. Yep. Okay. I understand.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. So then, Robert, let's. Do you want to do another life event?
Yes, I think I'm going to go to 40. And I'm kind of imagining him as... I mean, he's not going to be grizzled, because if he were grizzled, he'd be like 90 or something. But
Okay.
We'll say 40 is good.
Okay. So give us a D10 roll, please.
Where's my...
3. Fortune or misfortune? Give us another D10 roll, please. Let's see if that is... Oh, misfortune. Give us a D10 roll, please. A 1. A debt. You fell deeply into debt to the tune of 1d10 times 100 crowns. Give us a D10 roll, please.
Yeah. Oh, 500.
500 crown debt. Okay.
Must have gone to college.
Yeah, student loans. The Northern region. I don't know. The king keeps promising forgiveness of student loan debt. You know.
Yeah.
All right. So we are back to Will. Then, do you want to do another life event?
Oh yeah, I'm an elf, man. I'm old like
Bring it
that.
on. Give us a D10. That is a romance once again. Never let it be said that your character's not consistent. Give us another D10,
That's
please.
right.
A 4.
4.
Romantic tragedy once again. Another D10, please.
Damn. I'm just not good at this.
Yeah, you are
I need
not.
to go back to whores and debauchery.
A 4. Your lover was taken from you by a powerful curse.
Ooh. Okay.
Now, not to build on the last, but if your last lover was either a mage or a monster of some kind, they perhaps could have been unhappy with you finding, you know, comfort in the arms of a later lover. They may be the source of your curse. Or rather, your lover's curse.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or alternatively, it could have been something that you did, a magical mishap perhaps, or... So I'll let you consider that. Robert, Sean, are you done for your life path then? Is that when your character went to retirement?
So.
Okay.
Yep.
Robert, any further life events for your dwarf?
Yes, at least one.
No, he keeps getting older. You know, maybe 50. 50 sounds good.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's read 140.
I mean, how old do dwarves live with us? They certainly live longer. They don't say how long.
Yeah, elves and dwarves can live for hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years. Yeah, okay.
And so far, all you got to show for it is a 500 crown debt, fortune or misfortune. Give us a D10 roll. That is a fortune this time. Good. Give us a D10 roll. Please. An 8. A mage owes you a favor.
I thought it said a mage owns you.
Yeah.
That's a favor.
It would fit with your character's luck so far. So a mage owes you a favor from that decade of life. And then, Will, as you're off carrying on?
Yeah, let's do one more.
One more, okay. 2. Fortune or misfortune. Once again, give us another D10 roll.
See what I can get.
See if it's fortune or misfortune. Misfortune. There we go. Give us a D10 roll again, please. Let's see what we got. An 8. Accident. Whoa! D10 roll, please. An 8.
What is that?
You lost 1d10 months of memory from that year.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and roll 9 months. Okay.
Holy smokes. So you've got, of that, one of the years in that decade, 9 months. What do you think happened?
You know, I'm thinking all of this kind of goes back to that one romance. You know, he had that tragedy, and I think it was with a human mage, and with him being an elf mage, you know, they couldn't be together.
Mm-hmm.
But then that next decade, he got a favor from a powerful mage, which could be that human or their teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then lover taken from you by a powerful curse was the next decade. And so I think maybe, you know, she vanished, but he still cares for her. So he went looking for her, and that's what wiped his memory.
That's
he
awesome.
Can't remember, like, he set off on the journey, and then, like, you know, he woke up somewhere else.
Yep.
And there's 9 months of his life he has no idea what went on.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. And then Robert, another decade?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. For sure.
I just wrote what this reminds me of in the chat. You know, there's an old Texas Instruments game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I never played Tunnels of Doom. Okay, a 4. Fortune or misfortune. Once again, give us a D10 roll.
Okay.
10 as a fortune. And again, the D10 roll, please. 4. You find a combat teacher. You trained with a soldier, gain +1 in any combat skill, or start a new combat skill at +2. So apply that after you built your character. We'll keep that one in reserve.
Yep.
Okay. Then, Will, is that it for your life events?
I think so. Sean, is your Witcher, was that 5 decades for you?
4 decades for him, I believe.
4 decades. Okay, so 5 decades, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Okay, so guys, we are done our life paths.
So Kevin, you're thinking that would make me between 60 and 69, or
yes,
yeah,
because you Witchers have a different way of sort of calculating their age. All right, so then the next thing we do, guys, is we select your profession, and we talked already about what those will be. Okay, so.
Kev, one quick question.
Of course.
I have a friend that was from my entertainer family. Are we supposed to roll for those as well?
Let's see. No, I think you get to create those. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not because your most influential friend is different from the just like general friends.
Okay.
Those are things for you to fill in as resources or whatnot.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's see. Okay.
We can also roll our clothing, personality.
Yeah, you can roll your personal style and your values. I'll let you guys decide if you want to do that. I don't. I like the life path stuff of generating your generating the events randomly, but I don't want to impose what your visual or personality, how your character looks or sounds from. You can feel free to do that or roll that, see if you like it or not. But
okay.
And before we get into the profession, let's also give names to our characters. Just because one of the things I do love about character creation in Traveler is that you give your character a name first, and then over the course of the life path, you get to meet that character. It's a pretty cool process. Should have done that in this, I guess, but what are you going to do? All right, so then go ahead and select names for your characters, guys, and then...
I found a good random name generator for The Witcher if anybody wants.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, let me pull that link back up. Get to the right window, Will. There it is.
Okay. So then, for your professions, let's see here. So when we first make your character, your skill cap will be at 6. You can raise them higher as the game progresses, but you can't have anything higher than 6 to start. Your first 11 skills will come from your profession's skill package. So if you see on your relevant character or relevant profession thing, so mage is on page 42. Or is it it's physician, isn't it? Not doctor. Wait, where is it? Doctor, here we go. Page 41. Criminal is on page 40. And Witcher is on page 46. Between those skills, you have 44 points to spend among them. You have to put at least 1 point in each of those. Now, the one thing that matters, though, is that for certain skills, they are what's called difficult skills. Let me just see if it's... I can't remember. The character sheets for this are actually quite good, but I can't remember if they... I can open up one of the archive... Oh, let's do a new one here. There we go. I can't remember if it marks which ones are difficult, which ones are not. Let's see here. It does. Awesome. So anything with an asterisk next to it, guys, those are difficult skills, which means it costs you 2. It's 2 points per skill level. So if you happen to have one of those skills, then it will... for your starting thing, what I'd suggest is just subtract, put 1 in each of the skills that you have as your profession skill, and then take 33 points more and build up. But you do need to be careful that for those ones that have the asterisk next to them, the difficult skills, you do need to spend 2 points in order to get that.
And so what would be good in a skill like that?
Good skill levels are on page 49 is where they have it. So like 1 to 2 is inept. 6 is competent. Can't start higher than 6.
Okay.
So be mindful if you've got bonuses to things. 6 is your skill cap to start. I don't see anywhere where it says that you can go over that. So go ahead and fill out your things for your starting skills. Skills that are particularly important. Let's see here. The combat skills, obviously, for The Witcher are fairly important. If you have questions about what they do, let me know, or you can look up in the book as well, I guess. But trying to think if there's any like hidden ones. Oh, you guys also each have a profession skill.
Yeah.
Is that one, 2, 3? Yeah, so that's the 11th skill. So like Witchers have Witcher training. The mages have magic training. Doctors have healing hands, and criminals have practice paranoia. So be sure to... I can't remember if you need to add those on or if they're listed on the character sheet or not.
I think it's got its own box. I
think.
Yes,
the second thing, skill.
Main skill name.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Already, there's a profession skill thing. Cool. Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. So feel free to fill those out, guys.
So the let's see, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the like 10 or so, or I guess it's 11.
Yeah, you have 11 in total that are your class skills. You have to have a minimum of 1 in each of those, and anything that's a difficult skill costs you 2 points per point that you're going to get in it. You're also assumed to have your native language at +8. Which is common speech, because I think you guys are all from the north, except for Will's guy, who would speak Elder Speak. Wait, is that right?
Yeah, that's Elder Speech. That's what I've got on my character sheet.
Okay.
So on the profession skills character sheet page, it shows on mine at least it shows the main skill name and then 9 boxes.
Oh, because there are, if you look on the profession skill table, which is, where is it?
For Witcher, it's 46, I think.
Witcher, so 46 is what you're using to create your character. The actual skill tree, though, you can find on page 70 for The Witcher.
Okay.
So what it is, there are sub-skills that come from your basic Witcher training that represent sort of your specialty. Each of the different professions has a similar thing. So, like, Witcher training goes into Spell Sword, Mutant, Slayer.
Aha, gotcha.
That makes sense?
I think so.
Okay. So those 44 points first go towards the things from your profession. And then once that is done, then you get additional pickup skill points. And we'll talk about once everyone's done their spending their skill points. We'll get to that.
Hey, how many points we have for statistics, or are we doing that after?
Doing that afterwards. So that's the last thing you do.
Okay, got it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's curious that the stats is the last thing that they get you to do. Your thing on page 46, like whatever, it's from the professions from 38 to 46, they also give you what your starting gear is.
Mm-hmm.
Sindeith, is that how you're seeing your character's name pronounced, Will?
Yes, Sindeith.
Sindeith, okay. If you got your name for your character, you guys can feel free to change your display names as well, too, because that will help your forgetful DM.
Yeah, I just Googled Witcher RPG elf names, and I got that link that came up. And at the bottom, it's got links to, like, all kinds of stuff as far as the different classes and races.
I've used that one before. I picked my first name, but I went ahead with one of that site's last names. So, just like, all right.
Okay.
Let's leave that alone for now.
All right.
Okay.
So who else do we have name? Gravek Azram. Love it. Selena of Sidaris. Love it. Sean's character, am I pronouncing this right? For your character's name, Shiana's character? Is that...
You that's right.
Okay, good. I like that you're playing into the exotic, pronunciation.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. Irvin, where's he at?
All right.
Yes. Okay. There we go. Okay. So yeah. So what else?
Okay.
Testing.
So one thing I really do like about the life path system is it doesn't shackle you to specific mechanics. Like you get a really interesting story behind your character and give a sense of who they are and what's happened to them beforehand without it making the decision for you for what your skills or stats or whatever are.
I mean, it does. Sometimes it helps you with the stat, but that's...
Yeah. But I mean, like a +1 or whatnot, or -1 in a small way. So,
sorry, skill.
Yeah, most of those are skills modifiers too.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, I do like the life path system a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up rolling up 2 characters before this, just for case.
James, you have a question?
It's 44, right? That we should have.
44 points spent, yeah. And then,
Plus, if you got a bonus from your.
yeah, if you got bonuses from your life path or whatever else, that will affect those scores. You also, the numbers may not add up to 44 because difficult skills cost 2 points for each point you get. So it's a bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's only the ones with the asterisk next to it that those ones are difficult skills.
Why it specifically says human perception as opposed to perception. The skill doesn't make any. The description doesn't mention anything about humans.
Let's see here. That's under empathy.
Yeah. And even in the
Description. I will say the game crams a ton of game into a relatively small.
The little sidebar says specifically, despite being called human perception, it can be used to gauge humans, elves, and dwarves as well. So why not just call it perception? When attempting to use human perception on a race other than your own, you take -2.
Okay.
Which feels like that shouldn't be in the sidebar. I hate the sidebars, actually. Some of them are not rules, some of them are rules.
I don't mind it. I think it's again, like, you got to fit a lot of information into a relatively small book. So
yeah. Well, I mean, for the rules, I've attempted to write rules before, read rules. It would be better if that was just.
Well, in any event, one other thing you guys might see if you're reading any of the rules later on, there's a reference to base. What base means is your skill plus your attribute as a total. So.
Yeah, that confused me for a bit, but thanks.
Okay. Now, let's go see what these skills do. Which ones are really
Okay. How are we doing for skill selection, guys?
Very good. We have a max of 6, right? And any
6, yeah. No, they can't start higher than 6.
Unless they had a bonus beforehand, I think it said.
Sorry, Robert, you're actually quite quiet right now. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think it said that if you have a bonus from your race, you can basically, like, if you had a +2, it could become an 8. But
that could very well be. Let's see here.
I think that was a sidebar as well.
Your bonus skills. Yes, the bonus skills you get from your race can raise it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once. If you stuff like charisma.
Yeah.
If you've got a score of 2, you're inept. But you start with nothing. So what's somebody who's got nothing?
You're more looking, so the skill level does not necessarily mean your overall performance is inept. Your base is what you're going to look to for what that is, and that's your empathy stat plus your skill.
Gotcha.
So, like, and I think for most of the skills they give examples of, here we go, charisma. At a base of 10, you make friends pretty easily at your local tavern. At a base 13, you are a likable person, and it's pretty rare for you to make enemies. At a base 16, you're the life of the party, and it's hard for anyone to stay mad at you for a long time. At a base of 20, you could convince a raging troll to sit down for a pint over a game of Gwent.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay.
The skill levels for inept and whatnot, that just really refers to the specific training you've got as opposed to the overall competency with it.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Okay.
Remember to put points into your defining skill. I actually forgot that.
Yep. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you do that.
Yep.
And then these character sheets are great, so they will do some of the calculations for us.
Yeah, they'll do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Now, do we want to roll stats? Or do we want to have points and spend those?
just like rolling, but I
We'll
would
go
like
roll.
rolling, but yeah.
Can I go points because I want to force some things?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of always my mindset between the two, because you definitely want whatever your main skill attribute is.
You can assign them, so you don't roll them. It's not like old school D&D where you roll and it's assigned.
Right.
If you roll, what you do is you roll 1d10 9 times, re-rolling any 1s or 2s, and then you assign those to your stats.
Nice.
So you do that, or we do the point generation. If you're doing point generation, we'll go with heroes, 75 points to allocate. So if anyone does want to roll, you can go ahead and just roll 9d10. And let's keep an eye out.
I did notice if you do 9d10, you get to re-roll any 1s or 2s.
Yep.
But that still gives you a lot less than heroes. I think both of what I rolled came out about 65 or so.
Yeah, it depends on your luck, because I've rolled characters before too, and it's been over the amount.
Yeah.
So,
well, we can always figure out the average, but
so what would you guys prefer? Well, if you want to roll, I'll leave it to you. Hey, and we got a name for our Witcher now too, Werzium.
Yeah.
So I think James, if you wouldn't mind just changing your display name in Roll20 to your character name as well, just because I will always
sure,
forget.
sorry.
Okay. When you get a chance, there's no rush for that.
I don't.
Crumb says, "Roll it, roll it, roll it."
being able to do that, I still think likely would end up under, but you know what? I'll hamstring myself. Why not?
Are you rolling?
Yeah.
Hey, living large. There you go.
I'm pretty sure the average would be the potential average would be under 75.
But that's not what you rolled. What you rolled is the only thing that matters. Okay, so you need to re-roll that one. You got one, two, three re-rolls, please.
Yep. Let me.
So roll 3d10. And you got one more re-roll.
Yep.
5. There we go.
It's not spectacular though.
So.
Highest is an 8. Okay.
All right.
Well, that's.
Sean, no re-rolls for you.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Okay.
Even though that was nice. Yeah, 61 points.
1. And.
What's that last one I got?
Okay. So what is your final total then, Robert?
My final total.
5, 8, 14. For your 40. Ugh. Why don't you? We'll have you average up to 61. So you can add in extra points to tweak your stats.
Yep.
Just so you're not stuck with.
Sure.
We call that the Brent rule. Because we had, as years ago, my buddy Brent, who he hasn't been in the channel for quite a while now, but we had a session where one of our friends rolled his character, as for AD&D 3.5, rolled his character, and he didn't roll a single stat under 14, and he had like 2 18s and a 17 in it, and then Brent rolled his character, and he didn't have a single stat that was over 13. Yeah, and he was planning on playing a spellcaster where your max spell level is dictated by your stats. So that was the one that I was like, fuck it, I'm never rolling stats again.
Yeah.
I've since changed my mind on that, but nevertheless, I don't want you to be stuck with just shitty stats just because you decided to roll. Okay. So has everyone spent their initial points for their skills and for their stats?
No, I haven't done the stats yet. So.
Yeah, I'm still on the stats.
Okay.
Now, luck's in red. Is that still part of the 75, right?
Let's see here. I don't remember offhand.
It is part of the 9, it would seem. That would make the 9 stats. It seems to be one of the 9.
Okay, so it is, Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, I love the look of this character sheet.
Yeah, someone did good work.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in the wrong column. Okay.
And then once we're doing your stats now because your pickup skills are determined from your stats in part.
So we're putting maximums in. Sorry, I've been stupid.
Yeah, there is something for. Let's see, is that what we're doing? Oh yes, because you will need to. Once you get everything entered in, I believe it's you need to adjust your hit points, your current hit points, because yeah. So if you notice that when you're entering your maximums, your current will be lower than whatever your maximums are, it's because in the character sheet, your hit points and your stamina count as 0, and when you have them damaged, your attributes are reduced. So hit points and stamina are on the right side of the page in red boxes. If you just enter those as maximums, it will have your current and your maximum skill on the left, or I'm sorry, stats on the left displaying properly. So top of the page. You guys see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see those 2 abilities over there.
So what it is when you start entering your stats,
Right.
You'll see that the current will list as low, and the reason is because you haven't got your hit points or stamina as full.
Okay.
I'm curious. The first couple times we've used this, we've been tripped up by that each time. So you do need to fill in, once you've got your stats in, your hit points, your stamina, your resolve, your focus all needs to be at full. You just need to enter that manually. And I should be able to translate that to the tokens as well, too. So you'll be able to modify your focus and your hit points and whatnot. Stamina use is a big thing in the game, and it's something I think is... I say it reminds me of endurance from Hero System and Champions, because it very much is like that. All your attacks and whatnot, you dip into that stamina pool. Same thing with casters, and you have a recovery ability that you can use to kind of catch your breath, which also is very Champions. So I like that. Which is to say, this is my back door of getting you guys to play Champions next. So.
Oh no.
Kev, I can't hear you. My connection, it's cutting out.
Yeah.
It's funny. We have, the Champions fans that we have in the audience too are such that, like, in the middle of my overview or my unboxing I did recently for that Pathfinder box set, the Absalom one, someone in chat, the only thing they added was run Champions again. So never let it be said that the Champions fans are not devoted. Okay. And Will, I have been poking around at some superhero games as our next thing. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, for the next adventure, I got a couple of options for us to consider.
Cool.
Did you pick up Icons yet? It's Steve Kenson's other game. The guy who designed Mutants and Mastermind. It's his other game.
Yeah, I picked that one up.
Very interesting game. It really it feels like it's both very streamlined, and it has you can see the heavy influence of the Marvel Superheroes game, with a sort of like stun, slam, and whatnot. That doesn't use a table, but it's got similar kind of things in it. But it's got, I don't think it's the superhero game to use for every superhero thing, but it is a really interesting game. I think you could have a lot, like a very, Justice League animated series, a campaign around that level of like reality. You could easily run with that game. It's super cool. Okay. And he's a great designer as well, too. Mutants and Masterminds in each of the editions I've really enjoyed, and he is the author of the 3rd edition Magic in the Shadows, which I think is one of my all-time favorite source books for RPGs.
I think it was I think it was the 3rd edition of Mutants and Masterminds that I didn't like. I think that's right. I'm not sure.
That's the one that was
It's been
DC
forever
Adventures.
since I looked at those books.
Okay. How are we
Right, I
looking
think
here?
I've goofed up my hit points and stamina somehow. So what am I supposed to put in there?
In your stamina, it should be, let's see here, Selena. Okay. Your stamina should be at a 30, because your maximum is 30. Your hit points should be at 30, and that should fix your, there you go.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
That fixed whatever you were looking at, James?
Yeah, so it seems to work. So hit points should be low, I would expect. Is 30 low?
30, so your hit points is determined by, where is it? Where is it? Health points, not hit points. Health points is dictated by your combination of your body plus your will divided by 2. That'll tell you. So yours, if the average of your body and will is a 6, that's then 30 is the right number.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. That also dictates your recovery and your stun. Yeah, Anna's on good behavior today. I think she's
Nice.
I think she's still in bed. Lazy bones.
No doubt.
I had a bylaw officer come by yesterday, and it's like, oh fuck! Like, did someone call about her barking or something like that? It turns out it wasn't. It wasn't about that at all. It was that one of my hedges has grown out onto the sidewalk, and one of my neighbors, who's a fucking dickhead, has called bylaw about it.
What is bylaw? That's a
bylaw enforcement is like the anything that deals with the city. So it's like, if you didn't, bring your garbage cans in or something like that. Anything that could be potentially a ticket for that.
like an administrative type of situation.
Yeah, anything that's administrative. Anything that's an offense that be related to the city.
Okay.
So,
That's interesting. I don't know if there's a corresponding, exactly corresponding.
It would just be that ours, they call the bylaw officer, and it's everything, but like it would be in other jurisdictions like animal control, anything that is that is delegated from the city to some other department. Like animal control would be in our case a bylaw officer.
Like no felonies
tickets
type of a thing.
Exactly. Nothing that's in our case, it's the criminal code. So nothing that engages that. It's just if you do something that offends one of the bylaws of the city, your fence is in the wrong place or whatever else, they'll call a bylaw officer out. But this poor bastard comes out and he told me about that. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take care of that. And I've let a bunch of we haven't, because of the weather here, it's been up and down. They haven't had the street cleaners come by, so there's a bunch of detritus on my lawn. And the fucking idiot retiree across the street from me, who maintains his lawn every day, he's out there doing something every fucking day. I'm sure he's the one who called it. But the bylaw officer was like, well, and this stuff in the street, if you can clean that up. I'm like, well, what bylaw is that offending? Mm-hmm. And there are times when it's worth telling people you're a lawyer and times when it isn't worth it. This was a case where it took all of 3 seconds before I mentioned, and he's like, I don't know what law it is. He's like, I just, they can, they're calling because it doesn't look nice. I'm like, well, unless there's a bylaw you can point to that tells me I need to do it, then frankly, they can go get fucked. And he laughed at that. So he's like, I don't care. He's like, just clean your hedge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anna Banana is bylaw free though, so she has not gotten any trouble.
We don't have to start a free Anna or anything. That's good.
No, well, so as an example, there's different jurisdictions in Canada where pit bulls. There's the pit bull ban that came in the 90s. Where you can get fined or your dog can get seized. And where my folks live, there's a pit bull ban. So we kind of have to lean into Anna's other breed when I'm taking her for a walk there. Like, no, she's a whippet. She's a whippet cross. Cross with what? I don't know. We never did DNA tests. I mean, look at her. She's a fucking pit bull, but... Okay, how is skill selection and how is stat selection going, guys?
I think I'm
Done with stats.
Done with stats. Done with the base skills.
Okay.
My
So-
only question, maybe I missed it. With the stats, I'm seeing a maximum and a current.
So again,
Yep,
if your current is displaying as lower than what it should, go to the red box on the right side of your screen.
Yep.
And make sure that your hit points, your health points, your HP, and your stamina are at maximum. Once you adjust those, it will adjust the stats.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Then, if you guys have, everyone has completed that. Then their base, their profession skills, and their stats. Then, guys, would you kindly total up your intelligence stat plus your reflex stat, and then you can spend that amount of skill points on whatever skill you like.
Intelligence plus reflex.
Intelligence plus reflex, yeah. You can spend that on whatever you like. Just be in mind, remember that the difficult skills cost 2 for 1. You cannot spend that on your profession skills. So it does need to be new stuff.
Okay.
And the maximum of 6 applies here as well. Okay. And then we've got the Witcher needs to be mindful of his signs, and the Mage needs to select some spells.
And that has nothing to do with the skill points, though, right? Kev?
Nothing to do with
We're
skill
good?
points. No, nothing to do with
Okay,
skill points at all.
good.
Yeah. You for the Witchers, what is it you use? Oh, you use spellcasting. Duh.
Sorry, if I goofed up, the first 44 had to be in the professional.
Only in your profession skills, yeah.
Okay, I better quickly check I've done that.
Can't, yeah, the 11 skills you get from your profession, that's what those initial points go towards. And then your free, what are they called? Pickup skills come from that actual one.
Okay, let me just check that.
All right.
Okay.
Matt says she's a very large
Shouldn't have
Chihuahua
that.
breed. I'm gonna use that.
Should have had that.
She's just very well fed.
Right.
To be honest, I think like they just don't enforce those bylaws there, because we saw a ton of dogs when I was there last time who all look like Anna. Pit bulls are kind of like, I don't know if it's a dominant gene, but like that block head that all pitties have is just, it's very hard to miss that. And I mean, the bylaw is also phrased in such a way that it says has the dominant characteristics of a pit bull. Not, you don't have to do a DNA test to get a ticket or have your dog seized. But California does not have at least not in general. There's no statewide ban on pitties, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I may have looked to do another road trip down to Cali, and I wanted to make sure that Anna and Emmylou, before Anna, she was also a pity cross. I want to make sure they can come with me as well.
Well, let me know if you make it to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Is that where you are?
Yeah, that's where I am, yeah.
Yeah, we love,
yep.
my wife and I love San Francisco.
That's
I live in
great.
San Francisco. Yep, that's where I live.
The whole north part there,
That's,
I loved. Crescent City was okay, but the campgrounds around there are just fucking gorgeous. And there's the Avenue of the Giants, where you drive through the redwoods. It's just beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really beautiful, yeah.
I love that whole region.
Yeah.
I also spent, what was it? Not Carmel, Mendocino. No, not Mendocino. Mendocino was another place I went further down the coast, but what's across the bay from Carmel? Is it Monterey?
That sounds right.
Yeah, so Monterey.
Yeah.
Monterey was fucking awesome. Super cool. Beautiful
Yeah.
stuff. Great food. It's got
Yep.
those Spanish forts, those old Spanish forts in it too. Cool stuff.
That is cool.
Carmel, I have no use for. That was just a bunch of fucking rich assholes. So. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then we'll put the rest here.
when we eventually get to playing Dark Sun, you will have Death Valley and the Mojave Desert, Mojave Preserve to thank for my ability to present it as a credible lived experience. Because, man, oh man.
It's interesting that a doctor doesn't give you education as a base skill or first aid.
Well, doesn't your healing hands allow you to do that stuff?
Yeah, but
healing hands can be used for any first aid task.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, a lot of those skills. Double check your signature skills, because like the Witcher's one doubles for like a lot of knowledge skills as well.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so like Witchers don't need to train in monster lore because their Witcher training covers that. You don't need to train in first aid because your healing hands covers that.
Yeah, it helps if I read the last sentence.
Reading is key. Okay. So how are we doing with our skill selections here, guys?
Stop.
Do you how hex weaving for a Witcher? Do you think is that a thing?
Hex weaving. Let's see here.
Versus spell casting, which is part of his professional.
Yep. Let's take a look here. What stat is that? Is that willpower? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, will. Yeah.
Hexing people or places. So hexes are like minor curses. If you want to learn about there are differences between spells, rituals, hexes. I think maybe curses are separate as well, and signs. So
I'm wondering if that's one, two. I mean, I've already got spells and signs, right? So that's kind of major for Witchers. So I'm wondering if hexes is a bridge too far.
Let's see here. I mean, it's up to you. Let me just tell you where to read more about that.
Yeah.
Magic. Here we go. Page 98 is where the magic section starts. I love the color coding in the book as well.
Oh yeah,
it's smart. I know there's a few few games that do that, but the color coding your chapters is super helpful.
Yeah, I really love that.
Okay, so mage spells are there, then priest spells, then we get into Witcher signs, rituals, and hexes. Yeah, curses are one of the more vicious and inscrutable forms of magic in the Witcher world. Yeah, so, I mean, you can learn them. It probably is not terribly useful.
Yeah.
You know, your points might be spent better. Like, in terms of, you can use your Witcher training to learn how to lift a hex. So even, like, in that sort of, if you're thinking of it in the terms of, you know, that kind of know your enemy type thing, you are already covered with Witcher training for that.
Gotcha. But I was just checking.
Yeah, your character, page 120 is where the rules are for hexes. Your Witcher signs are on 114. Okay. And I have got someone mentioned Tome of Chaos. We do there are options for character generation in Tome of Chaos as well for generating that, and there's a bunch of new spells and whatnot. I haven't had a chance to dive into it though, so we're just using stuff from the core rulebook for this one. But you're right, there's a huge amount of new options and a new life path system in Tome of Chaos. Pretty cool. Okay.
Your understanding, Kevin, is Witchers are pretty unsubtle, right? Generally, or is that correct?
What do you mean, like?
Like I'm looking at the skill disguise. Would a Witcher have anything to do with that? Like,
your choice. I mean, depends on whether you want to. Yeah.
Do you think typically? Yeah.
Typically, no. I mean, like, I don't think that the Witchers, because, I mean, the way that you earn your money is people paying you to hunt monsters. So it's sort of like that's part of your advertising. You also all wear a medallion that in the presence of, I think it's magic or monsters, it'll tremble. So that also is something that is at an easy glance can be seen by by other things. So,
of course, he is a little bit assassinate. So,
it's, and the thing is, that's just the general thing. How your character chooses, we already know that he starts off as kind of a hermit, so he may be trying to forget that stuff and not be presenting as a witcher
That's
all
true.
the time.
That's true.
So certain don't take those are just the general ways that witchers operate. Your character can certainly break from that.
Yeah, it is. There is a. It's almost convenient that as a witcher, like social etiquette, I can eliminate. I can just eliminate a whole bunch of those. No need for any of that nonsense.
Okay. So then, the things you'll need to enter. So for Will, if you've done your other skills, I'm looking on page 42. As a mage, you get 5 novice spells, 1 novice ritual, and 1 low danger hex. Those can be found. Mage spells start on page 101. Rituals are on 116. And hexes are on 120. So you get a novice ritual, a low danger hex, and 5 novice spells. Nice, good roll there, Robert.
Just testing.
That's it. That's only 20 overall.
How can that possibly be right?
Because exploding dice.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crap. Okay.
Yeah, good opening salvo there.
Yeah, I'll never roll that again. I'll explode the wrong way.
All right, and then for the weapon, so the Witcher, you get your steel sword, your silver sword. Those actually aren't in the regular section. With the rest of the gear, they are listed separately with the Witcher stuff. That's on page 247. Sean, if you want to, I'm not sure what stage you're at right now, but if you want to record any of your gear, the Witcher steel sword, Witcher silver sword, that's on page 247. And your medallion. Witcher medallions are small pendants made of silver that hang around a Witcher's neck. When they come within 20 meters of any monster, curse, or spell that is currently being cast, the medallion vibrates almost imperceptibly, alerting the Witcher.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I have work I have to get done this afternoon, but it is really going to be difficult to resist watching season 2 of The Witcher again.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's see, how is everyone doing for character generation and getting your stuff on your character sheets?
Doing.
I'm in spell world now.
Doing equipment, nice.
Yeah, just to let you know, so I believe I have the rules right. So since my character grew up in the north, he doesn't actually get dwarven as his base. He gets
That's right, as a thing. Yeah, you have to actually specifically take that.
Yeah. So I did take two points for 4 skill.
Okay.
2 levels for 4 skill points.
2 levels of which?
Dwarf.
Of dwarf. Okay, so you got some like pigeon dwarf.
Yeah.
Okay. Your accent's terrible.
Yeah. Dwarfs are Scottish.
My dwarves are always Scottish because I love doing it. I lived in Scotland for a year and I love doing my fake Scottish accent. So yeah.
Yep.
My dwarves are always Scottish. I know that's super cliched, but it's also very easy for you to tell when you're talking to a dwarf in any of my games.
Yes.
I had a brief time where I tried doing this. Is not in any of the campaigns we've streamed recently, but where I used a French accent for elves. Did not work out as well. Because it's very hard, especially for someone who doesn't. I don't speak French, apart from I can point at a couple things and say what they are. If you don't speak it and you're not around French speakers on a regular basis, it is very hard to not go full Pepe Le Pew. So that is exactly where my French accent goes.
Well, you could be you could do Spanish dwarves, and where does that go?
Spanish is a tricky one. Yeah, like, I don't know. The Spanish one, I feel I'm exposed to more, Hispanic accents because of media and whatnot than I am proper Spanish accents. And that feels not great. I don't feel comfortable doing that accent for characters.
This is weird. They have fine arts and type. I have to tell what kind of this.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Okay.
It's always fun doing a character in a new game because you have no idea whether your character completely sucks.
Totally. It's often why I do. The nice thing is this game is largely idiot-proof. Like, because of you're required to put certain points in your skills, and you've got decent skill stats and whatnot. The characters are usually going to be pretty good, and you do get advancement pretty quickly in the game as well. But you're not wrong. I mean, it's part of the reason why I so often run games with pre-gens beforehand, because like once you get an idea of how the game works, then you can make informed decisions. But this one is pretty. It's pretty hard to make a bad character in this. Yeah,
when I said to use the points, that wasn't to min-max, because I got no idea what the min or the max is.
Exactly. One way to look at it is, like, if you look at the things that are your career professions or like your signature profession, and compare that on page 49 to what skills it's tied to, that's a good way of judging. One neat thing is because they've separated reflex and dexterity, is that your ability to fight uses a different ability than your ability to avoid getting hurt.
They're both 11, so.
Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, it's I remember enjoying the combat quite a bit when we ran it. And because of the skill, like a task resolution is 1d10 plus your base. The combination of your stat and your attribute is very easy to figure out what your likely to success is going to be.
I hope that dodging and such like works because of my body of 6 and all the rest of it. It's
body of 6 is still nothing to slouch
dead.
at. Like if you had a 2 or 3, that's where you're in real trouble. But no, you're with 6, you're okay. You'll be. I mean, what armor are you wearing?
I guess none.
A criminal doesn't start with any? Well, that's right. You
Nope.
make your selections of what things. Did you pick your gear?
Yep.
Okay.
So, Kev, also, there's a page that tells you how much crowns you get for...
Yes, it's right at the start of the equipment, I believe. So on top of what you... here we go. That's page 71. So, let's see here. Criminals, give us a 2d6 roll and multiply that by 100. That's how many crowns you have to spend. So, Selena?
Right.
Is it Selena or Kalina?
Selena.
Selena, okay. So 2d6 times 100. You have that amount of crowns to spend. And the gear starts on page 72 of the... core rulebook. That didn't... I don't think that came out correctly.
Okay.
Something wrong there.
I'll just do the 2d6. So 700.
700. So you got 700 crowns to spend. Robert, you have 2d6 times 150.
Yep.
Nope. That's...
2d6. Well, that's because of my debt.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You got the debt of 500 crowns. Shit.
Yeah. So would I have to take that off of this?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think so, because that would...
Okay.
So that's 6
900.
times 150...
900.
Sorry, 5... Like,
900.
900. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so you have 400 to spend.
400, okay.
Will, as a
Yes.
mage, 2d6 times 200 crowns.
Okay.
So 5
That's-
and...
Oh, that was 1.
That was
My
1d6,
bad.
yeah.
I thought it
So 7, 1,400. You have 1,400 crowns to spend. And gear starts on again on page 72. And Sean, as a Witcher, 2d6 times 50. You get squat.
Yeah.
Hey, Will, if you're the mage who owes me a favor, can I have like 500 of that? No.
I'm not paying off your student loans, man.
Talk to the king.
I don't even have any education.
All right, so it's 450. 450 crowns you could spend on top of whatever you got. And
bad.
there's a recommendation for what you might want to buy as well. If you're living on the road, you might want to consider buying, this is on page 71, a satchel, a bedroll, a lantern, food for a week or so, a dagger, flint and steel, 20 meters of rope, and a weapon of some kind. I love when the games tell you stuff that you should, like, hey, this is the judgment call stuff that we're going to tell you so you don't do, make early mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody doesn't forget their food. By the way, Kev, are we going to start on a boat?
Yeah.
Do we even need to write down our equipment?
All right. So how are we doing for filling out the character sheets, guys?
Getting good.
I'm working on my spells, getting them entered.
Oh, nice. What spells did you go for?
Well, I've only gotten 2 so far.
Ah, okay.
But I'm working on it. One of them is it Anye? The fire spell? Especially a one-person fireball.
Let's see here. Make sure you're not selecting signs and that you're selecting spells.
Yeah, this is spells.
This is spells. Okay, great. Okay.
And telekinesis so far. So.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, we're going to see what else we get into here in a second.
Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, magic in this system is really cool as well.
Like
it's fairly simple.
That's the thing I like about like much of the game is fairly. It's the execution where kind of the complexity and the in-game stuff. You're going to be very grateful for having a doctor on staff once you guys start getting into scraps with things, because it's the benefit you have with the healing hands ability is huge, especially if you don't have access to magic to heal. Magic can heal as well, but and then the kind of like ambush sense thing that the practice paranoia gives you from Selena will be quite helpful as well to know when I'm about to pull some bullshit. All right. And Sean, I'm not sure where you are in entering your stuff.
I am filling it in now. I've been working more on a spreadsheet, so I'm putting in the character sheet now.
Oh, nice.
Getting these things in there.
See, that is the sign of a DM who has run some dark heresy that you're using a spreadsheet to make your...
Can't beat a spreadsheet. They're pretty sweet.
That one is on the announcement of squats returning to Warhammer 40k this week led me to pull out my Wrath and Glory book once again. Yeah. I also found this week, I was looking for something else. I found that I guess at some point when Wrath and Glory first came out from Ulysses Spiele, that I picked up all the fucking card decks that they published for us. So I've got like Psychic Powers and all this other crap. I'm hoping they're still compatible with the Cubicle 7 version of it.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what was changed between the two. But there are some things though that are just like random plot generation stuff. There's a deck, so that stuff is kind of cool. Or there's one that it's stuff you hand out, like story twists you hand out to players. So that likewise I think will be pretty interesting.
That is cool.
Let's see. Okay, so we are. One thing I will say is, I think Will.
Yeah.
I can tell you who at least one of your mage contacts will be here, because that's the person who's calling on help from you.
Is that the acquaintance?
Could be an acquaintance. Could be. Yeah. So your lost love is lost altogether.
Yeah.
This is a sorceress named, I believe, Louisa. I want you guys to brace yourself for this because it's going to be a shocking change, but our story will be taking place in the winter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Where was that? I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, let's see here. Where is Louisa?
Which has nothing to do with you being in Canada.
I love it that you guys are going to be. You will accuse me of just including the same crap that I love including over and over again, but I can assure you that it's everything that's in the actual adventure. It just happens that they wrote this adventure seemingly with me in mind.
Yes.
That's cool. We get a little taste of the Tales book.
Yeah, it'll be great. It's the Tales book is quite good. I can't speak to all the adventures, but the one, this first one we're playing is pretty good. You can string it through into a full campaign if you choose to, and then it's got rules in it at the back. I think we have rules for Werebub, some new gear in here. Oh my goodness! And this, I know you guys have been clamoring for the amount of emails I get from players asking me, Kev, when are we going to play a game where there are rules for ice skating? Well, don't you worry, guys. I got you covered here. The gnome is also introduced. So gnomes, the Vran, which are lizard folk, and the Werebubs, you have rules for playing all of those in this book too.
Cool.
An ice skating doctor.
Yes, ice skating doctor, also known as someone who's being employed by the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
You're the on-staff physician. So Louisa, here's what you know about Louisa. Louisa von Adelaide is the strong-willed head of the newly formed High Mountain Society of Sorceresses. In an age where students of magic are in danger, she's seen close friends burned, and many more estrange themselves in life-preserving isolation. A social butterfly, this didn't sit well with Louisa, who created the Society of Sorceresses to recreate the nostalgia she holds for the magical community that she was part of during her study at Aretusa. Aretusa, of course, being the primary magical school. She has a tendency for bold action, a desire for perfection, and a stubborn streak that can get her in trouble. So I'll leave you to decide how Sindaith feels about her in that way. But she is the one who has called on you and your allies for help, for a fight. Okay. So while we're filling out gear, guys, let's talk about how our heroes all kind of came together. We know that the ally who is calling on for help here is someone who Sindaith knows. How do you think the rest of you guys sort of fell in together? And you can feel free to play off of each other. There's no wrong ideas here yet. What brought Werzium out of his hermetic existence?
I think it was he got a strong offer. They made him a maybe not quite an offer he couldn't refuse, but maybe a strong offer from that mercenary company. That
happened in your past. Remember?
Oh, okay, so it has to be way. Yeah,
like
past.
This is what do you think is brought? Where it says the last where you were leaving was in isolation. All that stuff was stuff that happened in your past. So gotcha. Now, what is it that brings him out? And again, you can, if anyone else has ideas for their characters for how they might connect with Werzium, you guys can feel free to suggest those.
I was going to say, if anyone wanted to be in that mercenary company and also left, for similar reasons, so we knew each other from that past, I'll throw that out there as a hook. If that appeals to anyone, take it or not. I'm just throwing it out.
That might not be bad, as for a doctor having part of a mercenary company. How he came there, we can work on a little further, but I have a feeling he was on the run from his former mentor. So, although that was 2 decades ago, so maybe not.
She's not forgotten. I guarantee you, she is not forgotten.
Yes. The question is whether or not he's forgotten about her.
Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Gravek and Wurzia, maybe you guys at one point served together. So, what caused you to come back out again? Was it Dr. Gravek who followed up with you, or
what if I've heard that the mercenary company is in the region? Like, so, I've heard that the, we'll make up a name for it, but that the so-and-sos...
So I'm a little reluctant to have it tied to one of those things, because that, it will be then difficult to explain why you're doing anything other than specifically pursuing that.
Gotcha.
I like the idea that you're trying to play in with the things, but because we're playing a pre-made adventure, what I don't want to have to do is for you to contort yourself into a way to motivate the character. Yeah. Perhaps, what if it's a personal connection that brought you out? Selena, I'm not sure, where do you see Selena starting off here? The former, she, had a childhood in opulence and nobility and now finds herself in what situation?
Oh yeah, very much, the parents, everything fell to bits. I think parents went into crime and since deceased. She's now the oldest of her siblings, are all doing their, I think, sort of living with an uncle, let's say. And Selena's been off making her life on the streets, where she has ended up doing a job for Wurzia because of his... I'll have to think of what that job was, but...
So what do you think... what if there was if Selena is effectively living like an urchin right now, what if one of those, not to lean too heavily on the lone wolf and cub thing, but what if she was, you tried to pickpocket, or is he not realizing who he was, thing? That's how you guys sort of fell in, and perhaps knowing, do you think that knowing the circumstances of some, may I throw this out there? What if the mercenary activity that you were involved in, Wurzia, the thing that you sort of where you finally were no, this is not wrong. What if your actions there, as maybe it was part of a insurrection or something like that, or a rival thing, you're the one, there's a direct line you can draw from your actions before you tried to step in and stop it, and the collapse of Selena's family.
Okay.
Because perhaps we know that she's got the signet on her, right? The thing. What if she picks your pocket, you chase her down, and you're about to, give her the good thrashing she deserves, and you see the noble sigil of the house that you brought down?
And then even through my dulled morality, I'm like,
fuck. And you could really see, in past the grime and the whatever else that she'd be living in, you'd see the noble woman, or the future noble woman who she could have been, but for you going along with these assholes in the mercenary guild.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
And then, I'll leave it to you guys to decide whether Wurzia has told her why he's looking out for her, or helping or whatnot.
I mean, I could see I catch her in the alley. I mean, I'm probably about to knife her. It's just, let's be real. I'm not going to cuff her. That's just not realistic here. But then I see I see the ring, and I give kind of that. It's not really. He just doesn't go far enough to. It's more just let's see. It's where most people may feel really guilty. It's not really guilt. It's just oh God, and so he stops and he lets her keep the coin. And so I think that really from execution to he just turns around and leaves and lets you keep the money. He doesn't take the money, he doesn't kill you, he doesn't do anything. And he goes right back to the tavern, in which maybe Selena's what just happened there? That caught your and I get to keep the money too? Wait a minute, something just, so anyway, that's maybe, that is the birth of of like, and she comes around, that even got like, what, who are you? Something.
Yeah. So that leaves a ticking bomb for when, when or if Selena finds out that Warzium is partly responsible for the circumstance. Now, what about Sindaith? Let's see. Do you think there's a connection you could make to the Doctor? We know Dr. Gravek worked for a wizard at some point, who it turns out is a cultist. But do you think there's a way that you guys fell in together? Because there's an easy connection we can make back to Warzium and Selena through Dr. Gravek. But do you think, Robert or Will, there's a connection between you guys?
Did Sundight be one of your former lovers?
Well, he's already established that the lovers are like things don't happen well to them.
Sorry. I meant. I didn't mean that. I meant his former mentor was one of his former lovers.
See, I've got a mage that owes me a favor.
Yeah.
And couldn't that be the cultist?
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me think about that and try and expound on that.
Because you don't have to cash that in for this. What do you think Sindaith has been doing? Like, where would we find him at the start of this?
I mean, he's still, I don't know. He's still concerned about trying to find his ex-lover, wherever she is, whatever's happened to her.
Okay.
And try and figure out who perpetrated that.
Okay.
And a lot of it right now, I guess, is probably a bit more focused on who perpetrated it.
Okay. And to do that, I imagine it takes money.
Doing.
Now, one of the things is, if you don't study at Aretusa, you study generally on like under a mentor or whatnot. Am I correct in thinking that Sindaith studied not at like the formal magic school, but somewhere else?
Yeah, I think a lot of his. I mean, I think a lot of it was just in an elf, growing up.
Yep.
Learning magic from another, elven mage, a more powerful elven mage.
Okay. Your character's parents were traders, right?
Yeah, they were merchants.
Merchants, okay. And yours were entertainers, right? Right, Robert?
Yes.
What if you guys were, there was a connection between the parents? The non-humans are sort of relegated to a second class. Now, the dwarves don't have it quite as bad as the elves do for whatever reason. But you're still, people would certainly take every excuse to remind you you're not human. Do you think you guys fell in? Where do you see Dr. Gravek starting off, Robert? Where is he at the start of our adventures here?
Well, I thought he was. I was figuring that he'd be with this mercenary company, or he mean before.
So it's like a doc for hire kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of like that. He's trying to. I don't know, maybe maybe the cultist has something to do with the deep, dark secret of his family, and he basically found this out and decided, I got to get away from this group so that nobody can use me against them because I know this.
Okay.
So he's basically been on the move ever since, probably ever since his 20th decade. Sorry, 20th decade. Yeah,
so maybe, Sindaith, are you working as a sort of a troubleshooter while you're trying to find out more information about your your ex-lover?
He's kind of a rogue to a certain extent. So I would say that's possible.
Okay. So then, what if we had the two groups? You were on your way. I'm trying to think what would motivate Warzium to actually take up the road again.
I mean, it would probably be his low-hanging fruit is going to be his the Witcher trope. So it's going to be that someone, Selena is a good prospect for that because he is going to feel I have to think of the right characterization because guilt's like too far, but you know, a light version of guilt about the whole thing. Like, oh God, you know, I've created some mess. Fine, you know, I got to do something about this. If she came up with something, if he learned of something, he might, you know, say, I'll take care of it. You know, this kind of a thing, like, or, well, something like that, or whatever, or from anyone else. But I just say Selena because of what we've already established with her. That would be an easy one. But in general, I would say something where he learns of something. If it's monster oriented, that's an easy one. But just some kind of you know, quest sounds too noble. But you know, something in the needs
so
to be
what
fixed.
about this then? What if this is the first? The start of this is the first time you're actually setting out. And Selena and James, to correct us if we got this wrong, if she's just sort of seeing Werzium as sort of an easy meal ticket, that she's chosen to leave with him as well, or maybe there's some turn of circumstances in town that motivated her to like, I really shouldn't have stolen from that person. You're leaving town? Oh, that sounds good.
She's always on the lookout for someone to learn from, and also she can do with a sort of bodyguard. Now, it's not that he's affectionate or anything, but you know, if she's useful, then
more what is it, Arya and the Hound than you know, the Mandalorian.
Arya and the Hound, I like it. That's a good reference. Yeah, and for some reason, Werzium's paying, you know. So you come back and like he pays, and you tried. Let's say, Selena, you tried to whatever take care of what you needed to, and you know the bartender says you're covered, and you're like, what? So wait a minute. So I pick that guy's pocket. He chases me. Then he leaves. I keep his money, and he's paying. Like, you know, boy, this guy's a softie or something. You know, some kind of. What's you know? So
but I read people well. I know what you like.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not hiding it either. I mean, a Witcher is not exactly. There's no real subtlety going on with him. So
naivety isn't one of Selena's attributes.
So you know there's something afoot, but you are getting paid for it. So there is that. There's just the frank fact of you getting paid for. You know, he's for whatever reason he's covering whatever you're doing. You know, like dinner or, you know, drinks, whatever. He just keeps paying, whatever.
Okay.
Because he knows what he has done.
So I'm trying to find the note. So what I'm thinking is that, Sindith, you got this letter from Louisa requesting help with something. And I think she hasn't expanded. So I'm making sure that I'm not missing a handout in here. I am not, because a lot of games love putting that stuff in. Let's see here. Let's see. Tis not. Okay, so I don't have a handout I can put out. Yeah, so what the... there's some urgent matter that she has specifically attended to. And you know that Louisa being the, you know, status that she is and whatnot, that there will be money, there will be compensation involved. Where our adventure will be starting is in... so the High Mountain Society is located... in the Dragon Mountains in Kovir and Pophis, so way near the north. So you're on your way traveling there, Sindith, and I'm thinking you and Gravek have fallen in together. You know, this is it's a job that you need. I'll leave it to you guys, to Robert and Will, to figure out sort of like how long you guys have been traveling together. And I'm thinking that it's, you know, on your leg through here, you're staying in the tavern, and you have to do a double take, Dr. Gravek, and you can see that it's Werzium, who's, you know, you haven't seen for 10 years, I guess, you know, since that things all blew up. And then after a little bit of chat back and forth between you guys, it finds out that you're going for you know, it's a job that mages are paying for, and Sindaith, it's never a bad thing having a Witcher with you, especially if you're traveling into the northern mountains. So maybe that's why you bring or invite Werzium to travel with you. Werzium, it's a paying gig, so a chance to get out, stretch your legs again, and then Selena just going along because plenty to learn from a mage and a doctor, and money to be money to be made. Plus, your protector's leaving town, so anyone else who wants to cause you harm, now you suddenly find yourself without that protector. So how does that sound, guys? That sound like a good enough reason to put all you guys together? Let some of you guys know each other, gives you opportunity to explore some role playing as you discover your characters through play, and then also as the other players discover them. What do you think? Anything to add? Anything to change?
James, how much do you think have we discussed what happened, you think? Have we discussed? No? What did you just say? No?
He said nah.
Because you'd have died in your sleep by now.
Which is awesome, which means that Doctor... Yeah. So that, I guess, has Werzium talked to Gravek about that?
I mean, I'm thinking, let's see.
Because that's like...
About Selena's
don't
connection.
fucking say anything about that, you know?
I mean, at the very least, I think, as we were talking in the tavern, at the least, Werzium's given Gravik a look. Like Gravik goes, oh, that one mansion we took down, and Werzium gives him this death glare, like, what'd I say? Where Gravik's like, what? And Werzium gets more irritated than usual, kind of a...
So does Gravik know who Selena is? Do you think? Or would Werzium share that, or do you want to do that in play?
Sorry, there was just a outburst from my son out there.
Well, Selena, how much have you shared of your past? Because I saw the ring, but beyond that, when we're chatting at the bar, how much do you think you've shared? So I know just because of the ring, but how much do you say?
Oh, I've shared lots. Just none of it was true.
Okay. So nothing about your family?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what? I think Werzium, he's not overly subtle. I mean, unless there's some really good reason to be subtle, like really good, I think his bar is high for subtlety. So I think he says to Gravik something like, oh, this is Selena of the so-and-sos. Because he doesn't, most of the time he doesn't give a shit. So, so he just, and he knows that Selena didn't tell him that. So it's kind of out there now. And, Werzium's like, I don't want to bother with this. Like, I don't want, it's just too much consternation to have this thing out there. So I'm just going to start, and if someone wants to come at me, that's how this works. That's just the classic, whatever, kind of a.
So Dr. Gravek, it sounds like you are aware of who Selena is, and I'll leave it to you to decide. You were part of that mercenary band that led to the downfall of her family.
Yes.
And it's thanks to Werzium that that they weren't slaughtered to the last, I guess. Though of course,
it could be the children. Maybe we make that the actual time, like as you're alluding to. I wasn't thinking that, but as you say, maybe that is the turning point. That okay, the father's fine, the wife's a little much. I'm kind of getting a little irritated, and then they're just about to do something horrifically, violative, and then slaughter the kids. I'm like, and then I turn around and kill all the guys, that are about to do something horrific, and the doctor is probably standing there or something very like this.
So do you think? Let me ask you, the other two guys, do you think that Dr. Gravek is aware of the debt that the cultist owes to Sindaith? And do you think that Sindaith knows that mage is actually a cultist?
Well, I don't think Gravek would, especially if it's connected to the deep dark secret, would tell anybody that she's a cultist.
Okay.
So... maybe in the future when they become really good friends, I mean, that was 20, 30 years ago, if they if they've been on the road.
Yeah.
But he's probably at least let slip that there was a falling out between the two of them.
Yeah.
And that he doesn't want to ever see her again. He doesn't quite maybe discuss exactly how badly he doesn't want to see her again.
So I think you guys, that may have been what you guys have bonded over. If you, depending on whether you guys did, you can have the like you grew up together thing too, or it could have been that you just that you guys happened to, when you were talking, you were like, oh, you know so and so as well too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he grew up in the Elven.
Of course, yeah.
Right?
Of course, you guys didn't grow up together. Yeah. Although I mean, he was a traveler or a trader, so.
Yeah.
So then, Sindaith, do you think that have you let him know that this mage owes you a favor? Because it's more than it just being an acquaintance or a contact. It's to the point where, like, this this person actually owes you. You've a mark to call in on them.
Maybe you helped her with something that you didn't realize was.
Oh, I helped her
a
with
dark
something.
secret. Yeah.
You forget who you're dealing with here. Oh, I helped her with something. All right.
30 years of horror.
That's right. That's right. I don't think he has told Gravik that she owes him a favor, but I do think he knows that she's a cultist.
Okay.
I think he knows that kind of stuff.
So then that means that's a secret between you guys.
Uh-huh.
All right. So then you don't. You know that she's a cultist. Gravik seems to be. Let's see. What is the? Let's see what your score is for. What is your base, Robert, for deceit? It's under empathy.
He doesn't have any deceits.
What's your
skills.
empathy?
My empathy is 8.
8, because your base is an 8. And what is your human perception, Sindaith?
Oh, my human perception.
It'd be under empathy as well.
But -2 because not the same race.
Not same race, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a 1, and my empathy's a 10, so that's an 11.
Okay, so then -2 will be 9. So I think maybe you haven't had any further insight into it, but you probably can tell that Gravik doesn't really like talking about that. Like they know each other, but it's that sort of like, where you acknowledge like, oh yeah, no, I know, and then sort of change the topic. So you want to try and not talk about that person all that much.
Yep.
Does that sound right, Robert?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah. So then that is, there's something more to it, but he hasn't told you as of yet what that more information might be. Okay. Awesome. So then we may still have, we need images. We've got one for Selena already. So you guys can feel free between now and then. Let's, I think I can make your token
You can
now.
tell from this character I've been watching, binge watching Gotham.
Yeah, totally. That's why I saw you on Twitter. You were doing that. Okay, so good casting for the character as well. Let's see here. So I think I can set this as your health points. Let's see here. Yep, there we go. And I think I can set this. Oh, hold on. Come on. Let everyone see. Everyone see your hit points. I set the blue as your stamina. And you don't have any, you're not a magic user, so don't need to worry about anything else. Is that right? There we go. See, visible to everyone. Bottom overlapping. Name. And there you go. So we got Selena set up. Cool. Then, guys, we'll, apart from adding that in and perhaps some... Did you make your selection of your spells, Sindaith?
Yeah, I've got my spells. I'm just working on the last thing, the skill tree part. That's the only thing I'm finishing up right now.
Oh, nice.
And then, of course, I've got to equip. But I can do the equip stuff offline. That's not a big deal.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So then, anything else to add with the characters? Anything else we need to talk about before we call it a session and or call session 0 to a close, and then get ready to make life difficult underneath the ice in 2 weeks' time?
So it was Dr. I guess just Gravik. Gravik's idea. He knew of a. He knew of something that was a paying job, and he brings in. You
ran into him and Sindith on he and Sindith are traveling together, and he was like, "Hey, I know you." And then as you guys were talking about what you're doing, you're heading up into the northern mountains to help sorceresses with something. And if they're calling it in, knowing Sindith and his knowledge of the more unusual aspects of magic, things he's been researching for the last little while. Having a Witcher who's, if you bring a Witcher along with you, it's never a bad idea. Whatever the problem is that they may be doing, there's not a specific hunt in mind here, but at the very least, it's paying. And if you need more motivation, or if you think the character might need more motivation, you might be aware that, Selena's sort of the limits of the patience for some of the locals with Selena's shenanigans is sort of reaching a limit. So having an excuse to get her, depending, I know he's not being overly protective of her, but I mean, the fact that she may get herself killed by some locals, maybe that's enough of a motivation, in addition to having the more obvious thing to point to, so you're not looking like a big softy of being like, no, let's go get some, we can stretch your legs, earn some cash.
I mean, he probably tells her, you need to make a decision. Yeah, it's more like that. Like, you need to go, or something, something more harsh sounding. Yeah. And then he says, I'm going over here. You need to make a decision of whatever, but you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You know that old bar closing phrase. Yeah. And then and turns around and leaves, kind of thing, and then sees what happens. Whatever.
Okay. And then Gravik, this is you're only just having met Selena too, so I'll leave it to you to figure out. I don't know. Does Gravik know that Werzium was behind killing the family, or does he just know that Werzium was the one who caused the whole operation with the mercenaries to fall apart? It could have been that, like, oh wow, crazy time, during that time. Yeah. Whatever happened there anyway? And you're like,
Yeah. Well, it sounded like Werzium. Well, from what Sean said anyway, that they were probably both together at the moment that happened. Maybe at that
It's up
time.
to you. You don't have to be there. That was just my thought.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, Robert. I just was throwing that out there.
Well, he could have been trying to protect the children, as you were saying. Like, if they were about to do something horrible with children, he'd be attempting to intercede on their behalf, especially if they'd already done something. He might be attempting, and maybe that's what triggered Werzium.
Yeah, that could be.
So they actually started doing something, and he was attempting to heal them while he basically went berserk.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I think that not making the Witcher the focus of the sympathy is probably always helpful, actually. So, if Gravik was the one that was going to run into a whole ton of trouble because he was going to try to stop it, and he was going to have a hard time pulling that off, with a whole bunch of these guys going, I don't know what you're thinking, but this is what we're doing. And then the Witcher's like, it's just another, it kind of pressed the Witcher to make some decisions.
Okay.
And that's interesting too, because if the Witcher didn't know that this was going to happen, and then finds them murdered, and is still on that precipice of and it's Gravik's the one who did the right thing.
Right.
And then he's like,
I think that's
fuck.
better. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's a cool connection
Gravik's
between the two.
Right. Gravik's more the morality, because I don't really see Werzium being some pillar of morality. I mean, it's possible he goes that way, but let's not count on it. Yeah. But Gravik does, and then it puts some pressure on Werzium because the group is already splitting. And so since he's in charge of the group, he's like, he doesn't really like what they were about to do. He's not really sure he wants to go ballistic over the whole thing, but then Gravik steps in and has to make a call. Yeah. And he goes, okay, I'll butcher all of you and we'll be done with this. And he makes that kind of, hardcore call. And
that means that Selena is not the first time he's tried to be protective of someone who is.
Oh, true.
That's an interesting development. Very cool. All right. So then, guys, I think that brings us, unless no one else has their token ready. Nope. Okay, so if you could load an image for your characters, or if you don't have room on it, send me the image and I'll add it in.
Cool.
But for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for session 0 of The Witcher. What a great character generation system. Like, this is
Super
just
fun.
super
Yeah,
fun.
it's good.
Really makes some fun, gives you lots of opportunity to make fun backstory and connections between the characters. Cool stuff. This is the first time I've done it with 4 players as well. We've only done it with 2 previously, and I love the cross-pollination between the connecting the characters and the backstories. It's great stuff. All right, so we will be back in 2 weeks' time to commence our actual campaign here. So until then, as is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section of the video, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. In addition, you can find a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have channels dedicated. We don't have for this campaign yet, but we have channels dedicated to assorted games and a bunch of other every other campaign we run on the channel, as well as a bunch of other subjects, including like finding a group. And I saw someone was looking for people for a Monster of the Week group this week, and we have a AD&D second edition campaign that was put together by some folks. So if you're looking for people to play with or people to play in your games, you can find you may be able to find players over there. There's also great discussions of keeping abreast of online conventions, and there's a what do you call it, a commerce channel where people keep you appraised of the discounts and whatnot for a humble bundle. So lots of great people over there, lots of great conversation. You are more than welcome to join us. There's also a link down below to our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the largest retailer of out-of-print books in the U.S., and they have been a favorite of mine for a number of years. They've helped me fill holes in a bunch of different collections that I have, particularly my AD&D second edition and my D&D third edition stuff. And they very generously offered a discount code that we can share with you folks. If you go to their website and you purchase $10 or more of product, you can enter at checkout the code DungeonMuser, and you will save yourself 10% on your purchase, on top of whatever other discounts you may be getting already from that. Noble Knight has also very generously donated to our charity campaigns in the past as well too. So on top of being a great retailer, they're also pretty great people as well. So you are more than welcome to head over there. They also offer new games and board games and card games and a bunch of other stuff as well too. But I primarily love their offers or their stock of out-of-print games and the ability to create a want list as well too. So if you got a wish list for games they don't have in stock but you want to pick up at some point, they will email you when that comes in, and they often have a lot of turnover from stock. So even obscure and out-of-print games, you can usually find them at the very worst couple of months of waiting. In addition, down below, there's a link to something called Heroes Save Villages. That's the charity fundraising campaign we run on the channel. That benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really great organization in over 130 countries that benefits over 80,000 orphan and abandoned children, including ongoing relief efforts at the time of recording in Ukraine. They had villages in Ukraine before the invasion of Russia, or invasion by Russia, and they have emergency relief efforts going on still in Ukraine and in several of the surrounding countries as well. All donations made through that link go directly to SOS Children's Villages International. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. It just goes to them to help them in their activities, try and help the kids who benefit from their services. In addition, as a small way of saying thank you, for every $25 that is donated, you will get, every $25 Canadian, you get one chance to win the grand prize or one of the other great prizes in our next charity raffle. The grand prize is a copy of the Beetle and Grimm's Platinum Edition Wild Beyond the Witchlight. It's a $500 box at new, and they have very generously donated a copy of one for us. It's all the contents of the 5th edition adventure of the same name, in addition to a ton of other great handouts and accessories and in-world documents and a DM screen and maps and miniatures and wings. A ton of great stuff that's in there. That's our grand prize. If you don't win that, second prize is a copy of their gold edition Absalom City of Lost Omens. I did an unboxing for that product recently because I purchased a copy as well. It is the very best city-based gaming product I've ever owned. And you can likewise has just a ton of extra stuff for the Absalom City of Lost Omens hardback, in addition to making it in a more accessible format than what the hardback is. There's some extra adventures. There's reference cards, a DM screen, reference cards for locations and NPCs. It's just an amazing tool for bringing that city to life. And even if Pathfinder 2nd Edition isn't your favorite brand, the amount of rules content in that is minuscule. So whatever your favorite brand of AD&D, or rather of Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder 1 happens to be, you can make use of about 96% of the product even without that. And if you don't win those two awesome prizes, you still could win. There's a chainmail dice bag donated by one of our players, Dave. There's a starter kit for AD&D 2nd Edition with a 2nd Edition Player's Handbook, DMG, and Monster Manual all bundled together. There's a full set of the brand new Iron Kingdoms 5th Edition books that came out, donated by our buddy Jeff, one of our players. And there's a bunch of prizes from the Dungeon Musings Redbubble shop. So lots of ways of we saying thank you for the generous donors. And again, all donations made through that link go directly to SOS Children's Villages International. The last thing I will say is a huge thank you to our stalwart heroes who have joined us on the continent. So Will, Sean, James, and Robert, thank you so much for joining me this morning, this afternoon, wherever this is for you guys. That was a shit ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to playing these characters, or seeing these characters suffer through what is about to come for them. So that is going to be a shit ton of fun. All right, then we'll be back with this campaign in 2 weeks' time. Until then, I hope that we've given you a few hours to take your mind off of the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that our heroes are getting up to on the continent. And until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.